Oh my goodness gracious. What's going on, guys? Jordan Isagi here, joined the booth with Mike Tessier. We're sitting at Wallio, the Wallio compound, Wallio headquarters, and we've got a sweet, high-stakes legacy match for you guys today. We got two titans of the table coming together. We got Dan Nguyen, the king of the forest, versus Mike Wallio. What's that?
I think you guys are live.
Oh,
all right.
Well, I think we are, because it says we are streaming.
So as you can see above my head, there is Mike Wallio.
And there is Daniel Nguyen. And these two players are going to come together and fight each other.
Who will emerge victorious?
It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a fight to the end. It's going to be a no-holds-barred. It's going to be a throwdown.
A true showdown.
It's exciting.
A throwdown showdown.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to get each of them in here to interview.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about
absolutely.
what they've chosen, why they've chosen it, and we'll go with that. That'll be pretty cool. Anyway, let's give a little background on these two titans.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about Mike Wallio.
Mike Wallio is, I guess he kind of came into the scene and he was playing a lot of Grixis Delver. He kind of fiddled around with various different decks, and he really kind of hit his stride maybe about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, playing Burn. And he's actually kind of carved a name out for himself playing that deck. He's amongst the elite Burn players in the area.
Okay.
Very, very much inside the ranks of Brad Rutherford and
Whoa.
Garth Breuer as well.
All right.
So,
big time Burn players.
Big time Burn players. Guys who certainly know their way around a Lightning Bolt, which is nice. And he was a guy who was smashing with that deck in the era where people wanted to play counterbalance top. So he certainly found his niche and was able to win tournaments. He qualified for the Legacy Invitational, the Card Kingdom Legacy Invitational. And
With Burn?
Yeah, with Burn.
Got it.
And
Okay.
he brought the deck, and he did well.
All right.
So yeah, he's certainly a force to be reckoned with. He can play a lot of different decks, and he has access to a lot of different cards.
Cool. So Mike Wallio, big time Burn guy, red mage at heart,
Absolutely.
and has had success.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Tell me a little bit about Daniel Nguyen.
Dan Nguyen, man, Dan Yul on MTG The Source.
Yeah.
Wrote the book, the literal book, folks, on elves. He wrote the whole primer for the MTG The Source Elves thread. So if you go on and you're reading about the Best Friends Forever combo,
Oh, yeah.
Wirewood, Symbiote, Elvish Visionary, that's Daniel's creation. Now, Dan Nguyen recently whiteboarded his Elves deck, committed to it for life.
He's in there, man. He's gonna have that deck until the day he dies.
And he also has been playing some bug-colored decks, and he's got quite the range now, I think, beyond just elves. And to get to this level of proficiency, to be the Llanowar Emperor himself,
Oh yeah.
he has taken a long and storied road, which includes a lot of playing back in the day with you, is that
Yeah.
right? On the east side
Oh,
of
yeah.
Seattle. Tell me about what it was like back then.
Yeah, so back in the era, I guess this was 2011, 2012, Dan and I kind of joined forces together, and we kind of sprang out of the woodwork as a group that wanted to play a lot of Eternal Magic. Him and I created what was called the Boulder Group, where it was kind of like a magic club, I guess, of about, we started really small and just started getting more and more people that were interested in playing Eternal Magic, Legacy Magic. And so he was one of the co-founders, and him and I, we would just go around to different tournaments. Eventually, Jeremy came into the fold. He was known as a veteran that has been playing in the area for a long time, and he would eventually join our ranks, and we would slowly assemble a lot of these different magicians, and then we were kind of opposed to the opposite side, which was Team Legends Tech. I'll do a little name drop for those guys. It's kind of an old school group. Rob Hensaker, Chris Morris-Lent, some villains for our heroics, which was really nice and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And of course now, they're kind of non-existent now in the current meta, and that's unfortunate. But now it's time for new blood and for new shirts to come in and fill their spots, and that's where you get guys like the Wallios and those guys.
Yeah, all right.
So
folks, in just a moment, we're going to be bringing you some interviews with our competitors, and not only that, but we're going to have Magic tonight. Legacy Magic: The Gathering Showdown tonight. We're playing Conquest style. That means each competitor has brought 3 decks, and they have to win with each of their 3 decks.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be tough.
Awesome.
You gotta have proficiency with every single thing you bring.
You need big time range.
Yeah.
All right.
You need big time range.
Okay, I think we've got our first competitor wound up here.
Oh my god! Why don't I go ahead and just jump out of this chair?
Okay, yeah.
We'll have Mike Wallio. We'll do a mic on mic with 2 different mics. There it is. There he is.
All right, in the red corner we have Mike, the bike, Wallio. Mike, what's up? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really nervous.
Yeah. Congratulations for making it to the showdown. You accepted a challenge.
No, I issued the challenge.
You issued the challenge. Excuse me. Mike Wallio issued this challenge, this showdown. Mike, now you want to tell us a little bit about the decks you've chosen. I can see Daniel is downstairs. He can't hear us. What have you chosen to play tonight?
I think that there were lists here, but that were printed out. So I'm playing Burn, which I'm pretty known for in the area. Tim the Wilder Boo. And then I'm also playing Grixis Delver. I played it a while ago, but... And then the third deck I chose is one that I have trouble taking seriously. It's Grixis Control with Ninjas and Spell Stutter Sprite.
All right.
So.
I'm looking forward to all of this. Do you want to tell us a little bit about... okay, so we have some sauce to expect. The Grixis Ninja deck. Any strategy behind your deck choices, your deck selection, why you picked it all?
Oh, man. So I wanted to pick decks that I've actually piloted before.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
Part of me was thinking I could go for, like, the turn 1 combo decks type thing. Either, like, the Black-Red Reanimator or Tez or maybe even, like, pick Show and Tell or something.
Yeah.
But then I wanted to keep... I like the interactive decks. I know some feel Burn's not interactive, but from the Burn side, it's very interactive. So the other thing too is I wanted to pick decks that could potentially wipe the board if I need to wipe the board. Dan's known for elves, so I wanted to.
You wanted board wipe decks essentially.
I wanted to have decks that could have cheap board wipes.
Oh, nice choice, Mike. All right. I love that tactic. All right, so you're feeling nervous, but I love your strategy. I think that the board wipe idea is excellent. We'll see how it all plays out.
I'm hoping it works.
All right. Any words for our viewers on your way into the Battle Dome?
Pray for me.
All right. Pray for Mike, he says. Folks, there's Mike Wallio, our first competitor in our Seattle Showdown tonight. I'm Michael Tessier. Back there is Jeremy Edwards. Longtime Seattle grinder, champion, and the Oracle of Seattle. Coming up next, we're going to have Dan Nguyen talk to us about his deck choices. Very excited to see both of our competitors here tonight squaring off in Magic the Gathering Legacy action. So glad to have you join us. Thanks for tuning in. And let's bring in Dan Nguyen. Let's hear it for Dan. Dan never wins, win.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a competitor.
Be here.
Dan, you accepted the challenge.
I accepted the challenge.
From Mike.
Yep.
How did that feel? Were you concerned at the start, or
it's a little bit.
Bring us back.
So imagine yourself a competitive boxer.
Yes.
Right. You had your heyday. Akin to, let's say, Rocky.
Okay.
Let's call me Rocky.
Sure, Rocky.
So I'm Rocky, and I had some fights. I had some good fights, and then I just got tired, and I started making Rocky 4. Started making Rocky 5. And now,
too old for this shit.
Now in my free time, sometimes I try and do a Rocky 6, but just for funsies.
Right.
And then these young upstarts, they come and they got young, muscly, I don't know what the word is. I'm old and tired.
Yeah.
I'm old and tired, and these kids are doing push-ups, and I don't know if I can keep up, but he thinks I can keep up, so I just gotta show up, slam a forest on him, and see what happens.
Nice.
That's really the only choice I have.
In our pre-fight review of both of you guys, we of course mentioned you wrote the book on elves.
I did.
You are Daniel. Also,
sometimes.
So tell us, is elves part of your deck choices for this evening?
It is.
Okay.
It's a little tricky because as someone who just plays one deck, it's like legitimately hard to play more than one deck in this format to any proficiency. I'm not that smart. Okay, I have a hard enough time doing one thing, one at a time. I'm not a multitasker. So we'll just see what happens. I picked my deck choices were very deliberate.
Okay.
Because I knew I wouldn't have the time nor the patience to learn the nuances of some stuff. So I don't know if you have the deck lists up. I sent them to someone.
Yeah, we're gonna have those up for our folks at home.
I designed this gauntlet for myself in mind to make it as easy as possible for my slow, aging brain to cast as many spells as I can and just see if I can put this young wizard in his place.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So besides elves, you've also chosen 2 other decks.
I've chosen 2 other decks. So I reveal those now?
You can reveal them now.
Okay. I've chosen Black-Red Reanimator and Sneak Attack. Omni Show.
Awesome.
Yeah, because those are stupid decks.
Yes.
We're Team No Fun right now. He wanted to fight. You see that? You want a piece of me? He wanted to go.
Mike did issue the challenge.
He wanted to go.
Mike did issue the challenge.
I brought the attitude jacket, my battle vest, because we're going to war.
I love it. All right, so Daniel,
some of that.
We're about to bring it down to the Battle Dome, but do you have any words to say to our viewers at home before we send you back down there?
Just imagine yourself an aging warrior, and you thought you'd just swing your sword around for funsies. And these young upstarts, they want to challenge you and make a name for themselves by stomping on your legacy.
I love it.
So I'm here to uphold my weathered, worn honor and see what that piece of paper is worth, because I'm not even sure myself.
All right. Let's show folks at home what vets can do. Huh?
All right, let's do it.
Good luck, Daniel.
30 plus. Whoa.
Yeah. Folks, that was Dan Nguyen. He is right up here. Our second competitor for this evening's showdown. Dan Nguyen versus Mike Wallio. Can't wait for this one. Our competitors are getting set downstairs. And I am going to go head downstairs and be the hand spotter. Meanwhile...
Oh, do we have casters? Do I have
yeah, you guys are... Yeah.
Guess it's me and Jeremy.
Let's doing round 1.
Alrighty then. Hello and welcome. Twitch, how you guys doing tonight? I'm your host, Josh Monks, joined in the booth by Jeremy Edwards. Jeremy.
How you going, guys?
Yeah, how's it been sitting in the back seat? I was watching the stream out back there.
Yeah, I'm just going to check my mic level so I'm not blowing you guys away or...
Yeah, I'm tall, so I gotta adjust this just a little bit. I think my audio is pretty good, but just to be sure. Oh, a little too much. There we go. That's what I want. Alrighty then. So yeah, this is a legacy show match. So we have 2 players duking it out, best of 3 conquest style, to see who comes out on top. We of course have Dan Nguyen and Michael Wallio.
In our previous match, we had Jordan versus Michael Tessier.
Yeah, and of course, they're actually our hand spotters this time, so you can see them behind the screens. So actually, Miles, Michael's twin brother, Miles Wallio, is a software developer, as is Michael, and quite a few other people in the area. But he's actually written this little website, this web tool that we can use to control cards in hand and then spit it back up to us, so we can actually get live updates on what cards they have in hand, as well as like a little chat with the players to keep up to date on information, which I actually think is really cool. They've spent like so much time and effort on this thing, on this whole setup, and it's killer. Absolutely cool. Killer. So I believe these players are shuffling up for round 1, so I think we can go ahead and head down to the match, see what it looks like down there. Alright, I'm up here to help. Perfect. Alright, yeah, we have these players shuffling up for round 1. We still don't know which decks they're bringing. We do know which decks both players are bringing, but we don't know which ones they're bringing
do you guys have both
to round 1. I have the list somewhere. I have seen them. Dan is bringing Elves and Sneak and Show and Red Black Reanimator, and then
Michael has
Grixis,
Delver,
Grixis Delver,
Ninjas,
yeah, and Burn. Okay, so yeah, pretty classic. I expected Dan to be bringing Elves and Michael to be bringing Burn 100%, but I wasn't sure the other decks they were going to be bringing. I actually spoke to Michael last Saturday, and he mentioned not playing a weird ninja deck, and he was going to play Sneak and Show, Grixis Delver, and Burn, which I thought was a pretty reasonable lineup. That seems pretty safe.
Well,
overall.
It's interesting because it's always on a one-up leveling situation where Michael plays Burn. He's known for playing Burn as his most frequent deck, and so if you want to beat Burn, usually the matchups you would play are turn 1 combo decks.
Yeah, definitely. You want to be as degenerate as possible. You're not playing against Force of Will. You just want to have the combo and kill your opponent with it as soon as possible.
But if Dan decided, well, we'll play some turn 1 combo decks and get this young Burn upstart, then it could turn out bad for him if he runs into Cabal Therapy, Force of Will.
Oh, yeah.
Or Thoughtseize, Force of Will.
Definitely.
Or Spellstutter Sprite, Force of Will. And
Definitely. So, yeah, it looks like these players did roll the die. It looks like Dan Nguyen won the die roll with his red-black Reanimator deck, which is his deck he's going to be bringing for round 1. He's trying to kill his opponent as quickly as possible. Turn 1 Sponsire of Insanity is kind of the dream here. Just have your opponent dunk their entire hand. He does have Chancellor of the Annex. Does he have 2 Chancellor of the Annex, actually? So you are, of course, allowed to reveal both of these individually, so you get 2. You get kind of like a miscalculation on the opponent's first spell.
I don't believe Dan has played this deck before, but he has played Tin Fins back when it was brand new.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it looks like we're getting hands right now. 2 Chancellors, a Gristlebrand, Unmask, Dark Ritual.
Can hear Michael howling.
I believe we've got a Badlands as well. I'm trying to see the last couple cards in hand as we slowly get those updates from our spotters. And it looks like Michael Wallio is bringing Burn, so he's showing up with a hand, of course, of the Lightning Bolt you go. His opening hand has 2 Goblin Guides and Monastery Swiftspear as his turn 1 plays, as well as a Rift Bolt and 3 lands. So pretty normal keep from Michael. We're going to see how quickly Dan's hand can go off. I think it's missing a reanimation piece, and it's missing a discard outlet. So I think he can unmask himself, potentially. Oh, it looks like Michael actually won the die roll.
So the Chancellor might have to go the distance. Just certainly your worst reanimation target in the deck.
Yeah, so I'm a little surprised that Michael did not elect to play a threat into those Chancellor of the Annex. 1 spell triggers both of them, and so you kind of just want to optimize your spells rather than waiting until you have enough mana to pay for the first one.
Right. Whatever your worst spell is, you can afford to lose.
I know that he's got a Rift Bolt, and so he could actually suspend the Rift Bolt this turn, have it get countered, and then play potentially double Goblin Guide next turn, which is a pretty powerful turn 2 start. He's going to go ahead.
The thing is, the fetch land says I could have Force of Will and a Brainstorm pitch to it.
See, it looks like Dan's going to fire off an Unmask here. Take a peek at Michael's hand. Of course, double Goblin Guide, Monastery Swiftspear, Rift Bolt as the action cards, and 2 lands to follow up the 1 that he has in play right now. So pretty solid curve. Michael really wants to avoid drawing any land drops and potentially draw a Fire Blast or a Price of Progress to get some damage out there. Looks like we're going to see a Monastery Swiftspear get taken by Daniel, and Daniel's just going to go ahead and deploy a land and pass. Looks like he drew another Chancellor of the Annex that turn, so he's overloaded on cards you can reveal at the start of the game, but underloaded on the aspects that Reanimator decks are kind of known for, which is getting cards in the graveyard and getting cards out of the graveyard.
So Michael's tactic there then was just to disguise what deck he was on by playing the Scalding Tarn and no action. And that may have resulted in Dan unmasking him rather than himself.
Potentially using a resource that could go either way.
But it looks like Dan has Entomb in the front of his hand. Now he's shuffling it away, but this will almost certainly be an end of turn Entomb to get Gristlebrand if he has his other piece. But it looks like he's drawing, so...
He might wait as long as possible if he potentially finds himself another reanimation spell. He could potentially Entomb for a Faithless Looting and then spend 3 mana to...
yeah.
So it looks like we've got the Rift Bolt coming off suspend, of course, getting countered by those.
So there's double Goblin Guide.
Reanimate
on top. So he's going to go down to 13.
Is it 13?
2 Goblin Guide hits.
Well, the Rift Bolt got
Rift
countered,
Bolt.
right? The Rift Bolt got countered by the Chancellors.
Did he remember his Chancellor?
He updated his life total to 16, so I imagine that's indication of that. So it looks like Entomb is going to get played here. We, of course, now have a Reanimate in hand for Dan, so Dan can put any creature in his graveyard and then put any creature in his graveyard onto the battlefield. And so we're going to find which one he chooses here. Sponsor of Insanity is significantly worse when your opponent has lands and when your opponent has creatures.
This has to be Gristlebrand, right?
I like Iona here. I think
Iona's not bad, but you're
play,
hanging out with Iona.
You play Iona and then you just sit on Iona, right? Like Michael has 4 points of damage on the board.
Yeah, it goes to 7, so he's gonna need. He can't reanimate again, but he'll have to get Animate Dead or Exhume.
I don't think he can attack with Iona, but also this means that Michael is completely unable to touch Dan's life total.
Let's see if Michael has any spicy cards in here that he could.
So Dan is at 8 or 9. I can't remember what he'd be at. Iona costs 9.
I think Iona costs 9, so he'd go down to 7.
7. All right, I'm gonna have to hit life pad. It looks like the life pad got slightly askew.
There's still a Barbarian Ring in Michael's deck.
That is 2 damage, but that's not going to be enough. And he would have to draw multiple Barbarian Rings for it to be lethal.
I think that is his only non-red spell that can deal damage. So he needs Dan to somehow lose life.
Yeah,
in
potentially
order to
casting
get
a Thought
punished.
Seize of some sort, maybe?
Because Michael can still attack with double Goblin Guide to get in 2 damage that way. And if he has the one of Barbarian Ring, then that's 2 more. So he would be effectively 3 short. So he needs Dan to somehow deal 3 damage to himself. Another way this could happen is if Michael at some point happens to discard Grim Lavamancer and Dan plays an Exhume without noticing that there's a Lavamancer that can get it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because
Then
you
that
can't
could be a way
Lavamancer every turn.
to get punished.
Dan's going to draw a Reanimate. Sadly, not going to be enough to really enable anything here. Of course, just sitting on, I believe he's got an Unmask in hand. Oh, he's got an Exhume. He's got an Exhume in hand. All right, it looks like our hand isn't updating.
Dan also could get to the point where he maybe thinks, oh, I'll hardcast a creature, but he'll have to take multiple damage off his fetch lands in order to do that.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So that's another way to maybe get low.
Finds a Chrome Mox, and so this is going to generate more mana, but what Dan is missing here is a way to get a card into the graveyard. So he's actually just going to discard a hand size here. I like this line. Get Chancellor of the Annex in play. Potentially next turn. Draws Thoughtseize. I imagine this is just going to be an Exhume here.
Actually, it's Collective Brutality.
Oh.
That's even better.
He's going to cast Reanimate here.
Wow.
That is ambitious. Oh, he's going to reanimate a Monastery Swift Spear from Michael's graveyard? What the heck? Now he's going to cast Exhume. Oh, okay, I actually love this. So this actually stops Michael from being able to get a creature off of that Exhume.
Right.
And he only takes 1 damage, and now he just randomly has a Monastery Swift Spear in play. Iona's going to go ahead and turn sideways here as she's not summoning sick. And Michael's just going to pick him up. Man, what a heads up play to reanimate the Monastery Swift Spear there. That's a good line. I like that line.
I would have liked to see some Collective Brutality for Drain mode before all of that, but worked out. It's definitely hard to lose game 1 with Iona on red versus an all-red deck.
Yeah.
That's sort of...
Entomb Reanimate is really good versus a very large amount of decks as it gets any creature and puts it into the graveyard, and so you can pretty much entomb for the one of super narrow hate cards.
So Michael is going to be bringing in Surgical Extractions and Grafdigger's Cages for sure, and it's possible he will also bring in something else, potentially Smash to Smithereens if he thinks he can hit a Chrome Mox. I don't really think any of these other cards are desirable for this matchup. Exquisite Firecraft is probably not what he wants. And the Searing Effects and the Board Sweepers are all for when he plays Dan on Elves.
Yeah, definitely.
At some point.
These players definitely know one deck that the opponent is certainly known for. Dan, of course, is the Elf Master. Michael Wallio plays Burn pretty much every opportunity he can, which means both these players are going to be aiming for the other one on their trademark deck, but all the other cards are not particularly relevant. Looks like Searing Bloods are coming out, Grafdigger's Cage, and Surgical's coming in for Michael there. Interacts with cards in the graveyard, and that's pretty much all you can get.
Cages are just basically an auto-include because he knows Dan has Elves as the number 1 decks that Dan is going to be playing today. So those are...
Grafdigger's Cage covers a pretty wide amount of decks. It's really interesting when you look at sideboard cards and think about what are the decks you're boarding these in and which are the ones you want.
Right.
And then you can kind of look at this graph of what the modern format looks like and see all these really weird overlaps of things like Storm and Elves and Reanimator both get totally daggered by Grafdigger's Cage. And then, like, Rest in Peace daggers some of those decks and then also hits, like, some of the bug decks in really interesting ways.
Same way as if he was playing white, he'd probably have Canonists or Containment Priest and sideboards, so...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Aethersworn Canonist attacks a whole lot of different decks. It's really efficient versus Snapcaster Mage decks a lot of the time. We are trying to slowly coordinate on getting this life pad visible. It's about halfway there at the moment.
Any better?
The blue side of
blue
life
side,
pad looks
but
great,
red
and then the
side
red side
looks
is
blown
not
out.
visible. I think that if we like angle it, maybe that would work out or something.
Or maybe if we just have some sort of film over the light.
Yeah. It's still a work in progress. We're working on it, though. So it looks like we're getting into game 2 here. Dan, of course, up a game on his Reanimator deck that he brought to the first match of this Conquest battle. That's okay. I really am surprised by that. So they moved the life pad over like basically a half screen, and the same screen stayed completely visible, and the same screen that was blurry or glare stayed the same.
It's basically Dan's life pad now.
So it looks like Michael is going to be keeping his hand. So Dan is going to be going down to 6. Michael's going to be keeping his hand. It looks like Michael has 2 mountains, a Goblin Guide, a Monastery Swiftspear, an Eidolon, and then 2 bolts, so Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt.
So Dan is on a looting hand, but
Faithless Looting is a really powerful card in this deck.
really
Thoughtseize.
don't like the position he's in.
Yeah, Dan doesn't have either side of the 2-card combo that his deck is known for. He doesn't have a way to get... he doesn't have a creature to get in the graveyard, and doesn't have a way to get cards out of the graveyard, which are really the 2 main things this deck is meant to do.
And Thoughtseize is also just not really that great in this matchup, because he's going to just hope to trade with a Surgical Extraction or a Cage, and if Michael is just on a handful of burn... then he gets to take a burn card, but he's still just waiting for his deck to bail him out. And if his deck doesn't do that, then he just gets run over.
Yeah, so it looks like Michael's going to be mulliganing this hand. He's got a Surgical Extraction, a Grafdigger's Cage, 3 Goblin Guides, and a Lightning Bolt, but no lands. He's going to mulligan that, which I think is right, but I was wondering if there's like an outside chance you keep that, hope you find the land, and then you just Goblin Guide him out of the game with 2 huge interaction pieces.
I'm assuming Dan kept this hand because he's valuing the Thoughtseize so highly, and in which case, if his idea is that Michael's going to mulligan to hate,
I don't know if there's a way
then he gets to answer the
if we can,
hate
like,
with
put something
Thoughtseize
underneath
preemptively. So did Michael Wallio get any hate with this hand?
Yeah, let's check his 5. It looks like he's got 2 lands, Goblin Guide, Grim Lavamancer, and Lightning Bolt. So no interaction
No hate. This will be an interesting game.
He's going to play Lavamancer on 1. I kind of like leading with Goblin Guide here. Lavamancer is not necessarily that likely to get activated next turn.
This is going to be a really big swing with the Faithless Looting.
Faithless Looting. Let's see if Dan is able to find anything with this bad boy. Finds a Polluted Delta and a Wear Tear.
Yeah, this is bad. The only other problem with this sequencing is if Dan had drawn a creature and he bins the creature, then Michael can just play Surgical Extraction, and then he's back in trouble again. So I think for Dan's keep, he probably should have started with turn 1 Thoughtseize, take the card that Michael has that interacts, if Michael has anything. Otherwise, why are you casting Thoughtseize? Like, what is that card doing for you otherwise?
Yeah, I think you might want to hold off on the Faithless Looting as long as possible to increase the likelihood of finding a creature to discard. So I think I might have led with the Thoughtseize just to maximize the chances of drawing a creature to discard a looting. Because if Dan draws a creature here, then Faithless Looting last turn, or Faithless Looting this turn would have found it. So it looks like we're going to see a combat step. So it looks like Goblin Guy is getting in there
Iona.
as well as the Grim Lavamancer. And so there's the Iona that Dan's going to reveal. So if Dan had led with Thoughtseize, he would have found the Iona off That's Face Looting.
So he is going to need to flashback looting this turn via the Lotus Petal.
I think that's fine. He also has access to a Chrome Mox that he could potentially pitch a Wear Tear to if he'd like. We're going to see the flashback Faithless Looting, which I like. If this finds a Reanimate, he wins. Reanimate and Black Spell, I guess.
There's a Reanimate.
And a Wear Tear. Oh, so if Dan had played the Chrome Mox and pitched the Wear Tear to it, this Lotus Petal could produce black and he could reanimate this turn.
Yeah.
So close. So, yeah. Pretty subtle there. Oh, he's got the Thoughtseize, so he can pitch the Thoughteize with the Chrome Mox. He's good. He still has the Chrome Mox in hand. Oh,
He
no.
pitched the Chrome Mox.
He discarded the Chrome
Yeah.
Mox. Oh, no. He doesn't have enough mana, so he's going to discard the Thoughtseize here as well. He wants to protect his life total a little bit.
I kind of like discarding one of the 2 Wear Tears.
Me too. I don't think you need to overload on that effect, and it's kind of hard to cast it off your mana base. Without the Chrome Mox, you also can't pitch one to the Chrome Mox. That's a good card to pitch to Chrome Mox because you can tap it for either color.
And he also used his Lotus Petal already, so he just doesn't have white. He only has red. So it stops Michael from top decking Grafdigger's Cage, but
Well, it protects him from double Grafdigger's Cage, right?
or Ensnaring Bridge.
Well, it protects him from 2 of them. Otherwise, the second copy's redundant.
Yeah. Life Pad looks good now, though.
Yeah, we've managed to fix a glare on that by angling it. Great work. It's work in progress, but the iteration is far faster here than it is at weekly events at CK, I believe. So, is it reanimation time? He's at 11, so he can get this Iona into play, but that Grim Lavamancer is active. It doesn't have very many cards in the graveyard, but every other fetch land now deals 2 damage.
Oh, if Dan takes 9, that'll put him at 2, which puts him at dead.
Oh, yeah, because...
So he can't actually reanimate Iona. He would need to have Exhume to do this.
Yeah, I think he needed to do that last turn. He really needed that one more turn. Michael, of course, pretty solid pilot of Burn, able to figure out the quickest route to victory there. And
So Dan would have gotten that one with different sequencing.
if he had led with the Thoughtseize, I think so.
And
I think he would have been okay.
Yeah, well, we'll see what Game 3 brings.
Yeah, Game 3 definitely. Being on the play with Reanimator is huge. Just one more turn, basically, of interaction with your opponent is massive.
Also, just a very fast deck. You have Lotus Petals, and Dan also has Chrome Mox in this build, so he has a lot of turn 1 action for free.
Yeah, definitely.
And the only spell that Michael has that interacts on turn 0 is Surgical Extraction.
Yeah.
So, and
Graphic
Surgical
is gonna
could even be turned off with Chancellor.
Chancellor, even Thoughtseize. Unmask. Yeah, there's a ton of different ways that Daniel can operate to go off on turn 1 and beat the hit card that Wallio has. That being said, if Wallio is able to survive and get that Grafdigger's Cage down, then your sideboard cards that you need have to change, because Wear Tear is really bad in your opening hand if your opponent has Surgical Extraction and you want to make a kill turn 1. But it's real good if your opponent plays Grafdigger's Cage on turn 1. So you also want to minimize the number of cards you sideboard. In Reanimator, it's just these slots are very important, and making a decision between Wear Tear compared to an Unmask is pretty huge, as Unmask in your opening hand is able to deal with a Grafdigger's Cage, but 2 turns down the line, the opposite is true, and Wear Tear is the card you need.
Dan is changing his boarding around a little bit for Game 3. He's trimming a Wear Tear and bringing in Unmask and see what...
Oof.
Oh, nice.
At least one Wear Tear is in the deck. Michael has been informed.
I wonder if Michael feels a little bad about the Grafdigger's Cages now that he's just seen that flop out.
Yeah, I guess he actually didn't see the ones that Daniel had last game. I think the way that Daniel picked up his cards revealed that he had the Wear Tear. And you can notice Wear Tear with the flash very, very easily. That card is... There's no other red-white split cards that get played in Legacy ever. So... Not a lot of split cards in the first place. So it looks like a pretty powerful hand from Daniel there. I see a Lotus Petal, 2 lands. Looks like a Dark Ritual.
Gristlebrand.
A Gristlebrand. And I think there's Collective Brutality, Elish Norn, Reanimate.
That would be pretty fantastic. Collective Brutality is just a fantastic card in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. Collective Brutality just does it all. It gets cards in your graveyard, it gains you life, it eats burn spells, even
if-
Surgical Extraction.
Yeah, even if you aren't playing unfair, it's still a great card because you can kill stuff and gain life.
So I think you can get an Elishnorn or a Gristlebrand into play on turn 1 with this hand. He's got a Dark Red, he's got a Reanimate, he's got the Collective Brutality, he's got a Lotus Petal and a land. I mean, I think you just go for it. I think you get Gristlebrand and Elishnorn in your graveyard right... Oh, I guess you can't. You can't double Overload because there's no creatures in place. You actually can't discard 2 cards of this Collective Brutality. I mean, this hand is a turn 1, put a Gristlebrand or an Elishnorn in play, which is more than satisfactory versus burn, I think.
Is problematic if Michael mulligans Surgical Extraction, because
Well, you
would
get
be,
to Collective Brutality.
yeah,
right?
but you would be discarding with the mode, right?
Oh, that's a good point.
so
you
you're
could respond,
dumping your
yeah.
creature, he responds surgical you, and then
Interesting.
then
yeah.
there's no real backup because
Yeah, that's a good
he
point.
doesn't have a Faithless Looting to dig.
Yeah, he doesn't have another way to get cards in the graveyard, and he can't double escalate because there's no creatures in play.
Right.
Interesting. I didn't consider that aspect. Yeah, that's really an interesting thing to think about. Maybe you wait and then let your opponent go, and if they play like a Goblin Guide or something like that, then you're golden, right? Because they need 2 Surgical Extractions at that point.
Right.
Interesting. Huh.
And Michael's going down to 5.
Yeah, he did mulligan
so-
that last hand. It looked like there was no interaction and not a lot of burn. So pretty land flooded, I think it was a 6.
If he has no Surgical Extraction and doesn't draw it with his first draw step,
Finds a Surgical here.
then this is going to be pretty rough.
So he's got Surgical, Lava Spike, Chain Lightning, Goblin Guide, Eidolon. So there's no lands in this hand, but it does have a Surgical on 1. So we're going to see a Dark Ritual get fired off here. 3 mana in Dan's pool. Here comes a Collective Brutality. We've got how many modes? It's going to be 2 modes. Drain You and Duress You. It's only instants or sorceries, but I think it's easier to call it
This
Duress
is
than
actually
anything else.
really interesting because what will happen potentially is when Dan plays Collective Brutality. Yep, there's the Surgical Extraction hops out of Michael's hand.
Here it is. Ta-da! And Dan probably had not considered this. We certainly didn't. Or I didn't
Can
need it.
Collective Brutality take creatures or no
it's
non-creatures?
instants or sorceries.
That's
only.
tragic.
It's only instants or sorceries.
So tragic. If he could have taken creatures, then he could hit. If Michael has a creature, one of Michael's creatures, then steal it with Reanimate
So-
for his
Oh, that's a
last
good point. Yeah.
piece of mana.
So Michael has Goblin Guide, Chain Lightning, Eidolon of the Great Revel. And of course, Dan has to reveal his hand to the Surgical Extraction. It's Reanimate, Gristlebrand, Lotus Petal. So he's pretty much out of gas in terms of getting a card into the graveyard, but the second he finds a Faithless Looting or a way to get cards into the graveyard, that Reanimate is active.
Even just a Thoughtseize does it.
Yeah, Unmask does not quite do it. He'd need one more black card.
So
Interesting.
this game is going to hinge on how many turns it takes Michael to find land.
Yeah. It's going to be a race from Michael to find land and deal 20 damage, and Dan to find a way to get creatures into the graveyard. I think Dan is pretty heavily favored in this clock, and also Michael mulligan to 5, so there's certainly that aspect to
I
consider.
actually think the reverse. I think Michael's heavily favored.
Oh, interesting.
Because I think all Michael has to do to turn this hand on is to draw any land. So he has way more outs than Dan. Dan has to draw a Thoughtseize or a Faithless Looting, so he has 8 cards
I agree with you.
if he
that-
has even 4 copies of Thoughtseize in his main.
Yeah, I do agree with you that a land turns on Michael's hand. The thing that I think is different is that Michael's hand being engaged does not mean that he wins the game. He does not get an Emrakul or a
that's
Gristlebrand
true.
into play. He gets a
It's
Goblin
true.
Guide in play in one turn and then an Eidolon on the second land. Finds the land immediately. This is really critical because I feel like the number of turns he gets to attack with Goblin Guide is going to be one of the major outcomes, the major factors of this game. So missing 2 land drops is really critical here.
Collective
Reveals another
Brutality,
Collective
that's not
Brutality.
bad.
That's actually fantastic, right? That's
That's going to do a lot of work here.
That's literally the exact card Daniel needed to find. This Collective Brutality is going to be on kill your Goblin Guide and take that Lava Spike from you. That gets Emrakul in the graveyard next turn to be ready to reanimate. Michael has basically a 1-turn draw step to find a Surgical here.
Or a Cage.
Or a Cage, correct. Dan's going to go ahead and draw that Collective Brutality, play the Lotus Petal. Here's my Brutality. I'm going to escalate once. Here's my Gristlebrand to the yard. Let's kill your Goblin Guide and take a peek in your hand.
He might have just, yeah.
Yeah, Michael's left with Eidolon Mountain in his hand, which is really hard to deal 19 points of damage.
Is it a cage or a surgical?
It is a mountain, so Eidolon is coming down. This is going to make this reanimate have a little kick or 2 extra life on it, but that rider is really not going to be enough to stop this Gristlebrand from taking over the game. I really like how Dan led with the Elishnorn so that he didn't lose the reanimate, or didn't lose the Gristlebrand.
Yeah.
So Dan now has a 7/7 lifelinking Axes for Hands monster on his side of the board, which is pretty much all you can ask for versus a burn deck.
So Dan falls to 9, but he should easily win this game because 7/7 flying lifelinker is pretty OP.
14 life points a turn is a lot. And that's a pretty significant swing.
Michael's also at 14, so convenient multiples of 7.
Yeah. 7/14, you're dead, son. Yeah, Gristlebrand usually is a 3-turn clock, but not today. Animate Dead is the draw. Gristlebrand making a 14-point life swing. Let's see. Dan is not going to gain life. He's like, I'd like to stay with what I got. I'm actually going to bank this life total. I don't think he can lose, so Ensnaring Bridge is pretty much the only card that interacts with him.
As long as you don't pay 7 life, you win.
As long as you don't pay 7 life, you win. Correct. Mm-hmm. You can't bite off more than you can chew. That's all. Dan's going to take this 4-point swing, go to 12, and of course have Lethal on board, ready to crack back and send Michael to the Shadow Realm. Fire Blast you, my friend. Dan's going to win this game in 3. Round 1 going to the Reanimation Menace.
Well, turn 1 combo turned out to be a good choice for Dan.
Finding that second Collective Brutality was huge.
This could have been interesting if Michael had decided to lead on one of the Grixis decks, since those are traditionally very good against Reanimator and combo decks.
A lot of cheap interaction spells, and of course Deathrite Shaman. I don't know if the Grixis Thieves deck has Deathrite Shaman. Yes, it does. Ninja has Deathrite Shaman. Of course it does. That card
is called this deck Ninja Control.
Yeah, it's got Throat Slitter and Higure.
Oh my gosh, he went so deep with the ninjas.
Oh man, he's got 4 Baleful Strix though.
Throat Slitter.
You guys want to swap?
Sure, yeah. So it looks like we got Jordan and Mike Tessier hopping into the booth while Dan and Michael play it out. So it looks like me and Jeremy are going to be moving into spotter duties.
Here's my machine. Just keep it going.
Yeah.
I don't want it to.
See the one down there?
Yeah, he looks down there.
Cool.
Oh. Jordy. What a match. We saw some Blackbird Reanimator action.
Wowza! And it was fast. Oh boy.
Yeah. And you know what? Mike led off with his number 1 deck. Burn. What do you think of that choice?
You know, I think he's putting a lot of confidence in the fact that he knows how to pilot it well. Mm-hmm. But when you lose like that with your number 1 horse, even though your horse has some weak matchups, it's gonna be tough, man.
Makes you a little more concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mike, he looked pretty defeated.
I think so.
But I think he's going to stay. We'll see if he stays the course. I mean, he's got 2 tough matchups. And he has to beat Elves, Dan on Elves.
And that's the thing, is Daniel, his metagame choices, he picked 3 decks that all beat Burn.
Yeah.
How can Mike beat Sneak and Show and Elves now with Burn? I mean, Elves is a slightly better matchup, but that's hard.
Yeah. I think it's going to be tough, especially, Dan wrote the book. Yeah. So you're going to talk to a guy who knows that matchup front and back. I think it's really going to come down to, can Mike pin Dan on Sneak and Show and then just keep him there? Mm-hmm. And just continuously beat that Sneak and Show deck.
Yeah.
Mike has a bunch of crazy cards. I mean, he has to know that Dan was going to select Elves. Mm-hmm. So he has to have some tech for that matchup.
For sure.
But we'll have to see what happens in these next few matches coming up. I'm actually interested to see if Mike decided to switch. Or we have some deck lists in front of us. He's got a Ninja Control. Now this is the problem that I had with choosing Mike Wallio. One of his decks might be like less than tier. Let's call it that.
But he has experience with it, right?
He's got a lot of experience.
That's
true.
Something, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I just remember watching this deck. It's got a lot of play to it. as the as it can interact with a lot of different decks. But when you're up against Dan, you're looking for one deck to play against specifically. So I don't know if Mike actually went ahead and made those changes, those adaptations that allow him to. Oh wow, they just rolled an 11. But anyways, that allowed him to kind of take on all these the various decks that he thinks Dan could have brought.
All right, so let's check out what we've got here. We've got
Different color sleeves, I think, from Mike.
Oh, that's Sneak and Show out of Dan.
Oh yeah,
for sure, Sneak and Show.
Yeah, so
he's just playing with mono Grizzlebrands today, huh?
Yeah, which is kind of funny because I think he doesn't like that card at all. Yeah. But maybe he will become a believer after this, after today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he picked some good decks to play against Burn. Not sure if Mike Wallio is still in Burn. We just haven't seen any of the cards yet.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
If he is on this Ninja control deck, I'm gonna be honest, man. There's Harug the Stillwind and there's a Throat Slitter.
Oh,
there's some sweet stuff. Yeah. So. Gitaxian Probe, and this could be. He also has Grixis Delver in the arsenal, so he might be going to a little bit more traditional style deck.
Right. So this could be Grixis Delver and Mike Wallio against Sneak and Show from Dan Nguyen. How do you like this matchup in general?
I like it. I do like it for Grixis, depending on how many Cabal therapies they run. It looks like Mike has access to 2 right now, and the only reason why I like it for Grixis is because it can apply a relatively quick clock, and it's something that the combo deck just has to assemble a fast kill, and it's hard to do.
And here's Dan. He looks like he went ahead and got a mountain. Excuse me. No, that was just his turn 1 play. All right, revealing.
Oh yeah, and of course this
handful
is
of invocations.
This is the Brian. This is the.
So I know these now. Force of Will.
Yeah, Omni.
Spell Pierce.
Okay.
Omniscience. Sneak Attack, of course. Grizzlebrand and Ancient Tomb. So Dan is just, 1 land or a Lotus Petal away from getting the Sneak Attack into play.
Yeah, and
he's a big time play.
And absolutely, he's going to force it in there. You're going to know that he's going to back his force. He's going to back his Sneak Attack up with a Force of Will too. So he's got all the tools that allow him to get Sneak Attack into play and get Grizzlebrand swinging away.
Right. We often think of Grixis Delver as being one of the better decks to play against a deck like Sneak and Show. And if this is indeed Grixis Delver, which it looks like it is.
Yeah. He has that Volcanic in the grip, and he just played Gitaxian Probe. I don't think he is playing Gitaxian Probe in his Ninja control deck.
No.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is definitely his
that.
Grixis Delver.
Yeah.
So we still have Grixis Ninjas up ahead for Mike Wallio.
Oh man,
and he does have to win with Burn too.
Yeah, and he has to come back and win with Burn too. Yeah. So that might be one of those things where he's going to pull Burn out versus maybe at the very end versus Elves or something like that. I can't imagine he's too thrilled about a Burn matchup versus Sneak and Show. And that's one of the primary matchup weaknesses that he can see. So
there's that Ponder out of Michael Wallio after 2 Gitaxian Probes.
Yeah.
All right. Dan with that top deck Volcanic Island, just what he was looking for. He's got 4 mana ready to go and Force of Will back up. Now Mike knows that Volcanic Island was the top deck, so Dan with a Sneak Attack opportunity. Next turn.
Yeah, he has that Soul End as well, and I think Mike Wallio is going to obviously understand what's coming his way and how he needs to react and read into this position. He's going with a Delver, which is important that he gets the threat out, and Dan's forcing, which is pretty interesting.
Oh my goodness.
He's going to try to protect the board position, but I mean, once Grizzlebrand hits the table, that's Grizzlebrand on the table.
Yeah, I don't understand not saving that force to force your own Sneak Attack through. And there's a City of Traders off the top. No action for Daniel. He wanted more after burning that Force of Will here.
Yeah, he might actually wait because there's not a lot of pressure. He's just going to go for it. He's just jamming.
All right, Sneak Attack.
Wally's going to go ahead and Force Will back.
Daniel with that I rue the day you force fist, but he could have saved his own force for that.
Yeah, he also could have gone for a next turn. He could have gone for double Soul Land, Red Source, Sneak Attack, and then played Spell Pierce as well. So he had other options too if he wanted to slow it down. And by forcing Mike Wallio, he made it so he's not really in a position where he has to worry about a play. He doesn't have to really fast forward. So he kind of made an in-between play on both sides.
Yeah. Interesting. It looks like Mike does have an additional force in hand anyway. So.
Oh, wow. So he's got extra juice, as it were.
Yeah, lots of protection against this, and all he has to do is land this angler that he has in hand.
Oh man,
And
this
here it
is going to
comes.
be huge. This is, I mean, obviously this is a quick clock. This is a 4-turn clock, which is going to say that Dan, you got to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
Over on that side.
Yeah, big time threat from Mike Wallio. Folks, if you're just joining us, you are watching Mike Wallio square off against Dan Nguyen in a 3-deck showdown. Legacy, Magic the Gathering, Michael Tessier, Jordan Isaka, and Miles Wallio.
Yeah, we're here hanging out. We're watching these two titans of the Seattle area battle it out for some sweet 100 pride points are on the line, and there might be some side pride action going on versus other onlookers, other view botters.
Now, Jordan, you and I competed in one of these showdowns.
Yeah,
The inaugural Seattle Showdown.
Yeah.
That was on in this format at the Wallio Stadium.
of course. Yeah, you got a month ago.
Since then, what have you thought? And can people go back and watch the VOD on your channel?
Oh yeah, so the VODs are actually up on a YouTube. We have a YouTube channel
Cool.
that you can go ahead and check those out. I think did you cut them out, Miles?
Michael did.
Mike Wallio cut out the VODs.
Here's
and went ahead-
Daniel actually
Oh,
resolved
wow.
that show and tell, and there goes a Grizzlebrand. Meanwhile, Mike Wallio gets to get a Deathrite Shaman in play. Not much going for him.
I think he hardcasted. So I think he
Oh,
just
yeah,
he
excuse me. Yeah.
faked out putting a card into play, and there's just nothing going on. So
Dan's
Dan
gonna
is going to
draw
go ahead
7.
and draw.
Interesting.
And he got halfway to drawing 2 cards. Oh wow!
What?
And Mike's going to
Okay.
lightning bolt Dan,
Okay.
I think. So Dan's going to he's going to 2.
Wow, so Dan's playing
Oh,
the
wow.
Cutting Wish version of...
Oh, I think he's actually at 2, which is interesting. What's up?
Is Mike's section not updating? He should have a bunch of cards in it.
No, it's
he-
you're
yeah.
good now. You're good now. Sorry. So we didn't double check. I'm sorry. So I think Dan actually just drew 7, and Mike threw a lightning bolt. So I think Dan is.
No,
I'm not
he is
sure.
8.
Oh, he's at
live.
8. He's
Yep.
at 8. Okay,
8's
got it.
live, yeah.
Got it.
So Dan now sitting with a Grizzlebrand in play. Just drew a fresh 7, down to 8. Facing down this Deathrite Shaman and Gurmag Angler. I mean, it wouldn't take much for Mike if he had a sneaky, let's say, dead and gone.
Oh man, yeah, that would be pretty. That would be pretty insane. I've seen that sideboard tech.
Yeah,
and actually,
Echoing Truth.
Yeah,
Your deck.
I've seen some insane tech that comes out of these Grixis decks, specifically because a lot of times they have trouble answering enemy Grimags and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually seen them more commonly out of that Grixis control deck that you played me with.
Yeah.
And it's a really nice piece of tech that's really good versus certain reanimator targets, but also good versus delve creatures as well.
Yeah.
It's possible that Mike has gone ahead and stretched out his deck list a little bit to pull that in, but from the looks of it, it looks like he's kind of playing
Very
a
stock.
relatively plain Jane stock list,
Yeah.
a couple of fork bolts, and you got to believe those fork bolts are looking to find a couple elves.
Oh,
Not
right,
really good
right.
good at finding a 7/7 demon.
Not
you know?
interested.
It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, Forkbolt, I mean, potentially could kill the Grizzlebrand
Yeah.
with the Gurmag Angler damage, but unlikely with Dan able to draw
Yeah.
this 7 here.
Just a
Looks
lot
like,
of cards in hand for Dan.
yeah. But though it doesn't look like there's no Force of Will. There's Spell Pierce in hand, 2 Cunning Wishes, no Force.
Oh, a Wasteland gets deployed, and Mike's gonna go ahead and just fire it off straight away. I think Mike does have a fork bolt in hand. It looks like a red card, and I don't think it's lightning bolt.
There is Lightning Bolt actually in hand for Mike.
Oh, interesting.
And that would have been huge if he swung with that Gurmag Angler and offered it.
Yeah,
Because Daniel has to block, because otherwise
Yeah.
he'll die to the Lightning Bolt. So
absolutely.
a little bit of a miss there, I think, from Mike.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Perhaps I think he was he actually is trying to angle his bolt to try to win the game with it, and I don't think there's going to be that option. I mean, Daniel Nguyen certainly knows how
Right.
Deathrite Shaman works,
Yeah.
and he understands that. And what is interesting though is that even though he does have Grizzlebrand in play, there is some sort of like life parity situation here going on where Deathrite deals 2 on the drain and Grimag attacks for 5. So it's not really a true. Dan isn't really gaining 7 so much as he's shrinking Mike's life total by 7 and not dying
Right.
himself
Yeah.
to the crackbacks.
Yeah.
So it's a
and
drain.
Dan has a Force of Will in hand now, and that firmly shut the door on Mike's opportunity to
Yeah,
burn Dan out of the game.
I think so.
It's Force of Will. Big time card for Dan Nguyen.
An attack right there, and it looks like this is going to be it for the first game of round 2.
Yeah, I would have loved to see what Daniel would have done if Mike had swung with that Gurmag Angler with the bolt in hand.
Yeah, just straight into Gristlebrand.
Yeah.
That's one of those plays that it becomes a lot closer. You don't really have a ton of information for that, to be informed on those lines. And that's one of those plays that you just like, you're kind of surprised when they happen,
Right.
It's kind of like, oh, I didn't really expect that. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Lightning bolt plus, 3 plus 5 equals 8, so it kills my guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But those are some lines that you do have to take and you do have to make when you're, underneath the gun and you're just fighting for a match. So.
Yeah. So anyway, going back to our match.
Yeah.
Since then I've thought a lot about your Jedi mind trick, Ulamog.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, man. First of all, I have been in games since then where I have determined the only way out is if I Jedi mind trick my opponent.
Oh, yeah.
Similar to that game that you did.
Yeah.
I've done the same in poker, too, since then.
Oh, yeah?
My only way out is to Jedi mind trick.
Yeah.
And you have really taught me.
Oh.
It was a valuable lesson. It was worth all the pride points to
correct.
learn the lesson. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's sometimes the only option is to go through the wall.
Yeah.
You're just trying to come up with a position or a way to win the game, and you have to play your one drop through their chalice.
Yeah.
Just look at them straight in the eye and be like,
yeah, overload their mental, overload the mental load.
Yeah, we're attacking different angles of the game, and there's more than just the game.
Right. Yeah.
So
I wonder how many percentage points you get off of these Jedi mind tricks. Do you know how many times you've directly won from them, similar to the Ulamog thing? You can't do it on Moto.
You can't.
It's not possible.
That's actually the reason why I don't like Moto that much.
Yeah, you like that angle of the game.
The human element of the game is what makes it so exciting for me to sit down and play against another opponent.
Yeah.
Michael's showing the...
Oh, his board.
Yeah.
Mike showing his board in and out.
Yeah,
Switch to the other view.
Take a look.
Yeah. He says TNN bolts Wastelands coming out. Sorry, going out. Oh, okay, it's Jeremy. You're doing great.
All right, so True Nemesis, bolts, and one Wasteland coming out for Mike Wallio. And we'll take a look at what Dan Nguyen is doing. Folks, if you're enjoying this stream, if you're enjoying this setup, take a look at this setup first of all. This is all thanks to the Wallio bros, Miles and Mike Wallio.
Oh, yeah.
You can check out miso.pw for some write-ups that Miles Wallio does on Seattle legacy scene and the greater legacy scene. And also, that's where we'll have updates about future showdowns and things like that. So if you like what you're seeing, make sure you hit up miso.pw. Make sure you hit a like or subscribe or follow, rather, on this channel.
Oh, yeah, please. And, of course, all proceeds go to making our stream bigger and better. The next time we try to bring you guys matches like this, we're going to have as many matches as we can over the course of the next few months. We've got showdowns. We've got Showdown. Everybody wants to
a piece.
Everybody wants to get on camera and play, and it's nice to kind of get on and kind of flex that magic muscle.
Lots of action.
Show everybody what you're all about. And, one of these showdowns are so great because they just kind of showcase 3 decks that you're good at that you want to show somebody, your skills.
Sometime during summer, it's gonna be Brian Bennett versus Jerry McEdwards. What is it? Everyone's played Brian's show and tell deck so far.
Oh yeah, so far, yeah, Brian's show and tell deck has actually made appearances multiple times. Of course, I played it and played it.
Now Dan's playing it.
Yeah, played it absolutely terribly.
You did play it pretty
bad.
Yeah. Somehow you won.
I totally I think one of the games I just aped really hard. It was just like a turn 2.
A few of the mulligans, Brian was just literally shaking his head.
Yeah.
SMH. Brian was like, "What are you doing?" Or
Absolutely.
One of your keeps, I think it was.
Yeah, it was a really bad one. They were like, "I think you should mulligan," and I'm like, "But it has ponder." That's whenever I look at whenever I keep a blade hand, I'm like, dude, ponder's great. Ponder means anything.
Yeah.
Keep anything, but it's different.
Taking a look at how our challengers sideboarded here, like we said, True Nemesis, bolts, and Wasteland coming out from Mike Wallio. Pyroblast, Surgical, and Flesh Restored coming in. How did Dan?
Dan brought in a lot of his permanents. So he brought in the triple Blood Moon and triple Defense Grid, and then he says, "I have no idea how to sideboard with this deck." And yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's a hard deck to board with, but he boarded out 2 preordains, an Ancient Tomb, a Cunning Wish, a Ponder, and a Spell Pierce.
Whoa.
So but the one thing though that's really good about Dan is he's really good at understanding how to board out cards and not dilute the actual combo itself.
Okay.
Because
that's something learned from Els, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the things that makes him such a potent combo player is that he understands that when he has the engine or the actual guts of the deck, he doesn't necessarily need to trim those parts out. He can just go ahead and make the deck go a little slower. He can attack from different angles.
Right.
And that's what makes him such a potent player. And I think that like if he were to take that concept and kind of maximize that idea and stretch it over a couple of different combo decks, like, you know, Black Red or Sneak and Show and also Elves, it gives him dimension to his playstyle.
Got it, yeah.
So I mean, obviously you saw him, you know, there's a certain amount of just weight that these decks have, being legacy decks and playing Force of Will and powerful cards. But on the other side, you know, when it comes down to making those really small percentage plays, he can do that with boarding, stuff like that.
Yeah, lots of trimming there from Dan.
Yeah.
And taking a look at Mike's hand, he kept a handful of interaction. He's got Probe, Ponder, which we saw far off, Force of Will, Daze, Underground Sea, and Volcanic Island. Not sure what he drew blind off of that Ponder there. Here's a Ponder from Dan. So it was a Ponder for Ponder.
And it looks like he sees an Invocation. I think that's an Omni, a Ponder, and an Island. And so looking at Dan's hand, he's got a Show and Tell, a Blood Moon, 2 Ponders, an Island, a Volcanic Island, a Tarn, and a Split Decision.
Love that split decision.
Sweet card.
I think Impulse is better in general, but just split decision is so sweet.
Yeah, I mean, you can use it as an enemy counter. You can use. I mean, like I think what's interesting about Split Decision is that when you cast it off of when you have Omni in play and you cast it off of your and you cast your Firemind's Foresight, when you get Split Decision and you get Cunning Wish, you can Split Decision your Cunning Wish, and that's how it kills. You know, so. It's kind of an interesting idea, and it also just gives you some dimension in there too. I always like modal cards, so Dan looks frustrated as he plays Ponder. He's racking his brain. He's trying to figure out what to do.
Those 2 Show and Tells off the top. Not sure if that's what he's looking for.
Yeah, he's already got another Show and Tell in his hand. Looks like he's keeping.
He's gonna
he's
keep
drawing.
it to have redundancy, and he can shuffle away the other 2 cards there. So it looks like that's what he's gonna do. Shuffle away a land and a 3rd Show and Tell. He needs something to put in, but more than that, I think this Blood Moon is big time.
Yeah, I think right now he's certainly on a jam plan where he's going to jam the moon.
Yeah,
he's going to jam a Show and Tell. I mean, assuming he finds a Freddy to put in.
Right. One interesting line I think Dan could take here is actually to jam a Show first.
Okay.
Even without anything in hand to put in play, and then maybe resolve the Blood Moon, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a Daze on Dan's Ponder.
Ooh, hard cast.
2nd Ponder of the turn, 3rd Ponder of the match.
And I think Mike drew a land. I think that was the one he drew for the turn. He's got 3 lands in play, and if that moon is coming down soon, it's going to be Red Town. It's going to be Moontown. You're familiar with Moontown.
I love Moontown.
Moontown, baby.
Significantly worse with the change to the Planeswalker redirection rule, Blood Moon Stompy as a deck.
I see.
But that's beside the point. Mike Wallio, it looks like he drew a threat. Here it is, Grimag Angler.
Grimag.
Nice.
This is exactly where he wants to be. He wants to have a threat. Grimag is obviously the best bang for your buck.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so Mike is firmly on the board here. Dan is on the clock. He's got 4 turns to go off. And Blood Moon's not going to do it.
Yeah, Blood Moon actually might end up hurting him a little bit.
Oh, Force on this Grimag Angler.
Force.
Mike Wallio has 2 Forces in hand and a Daze.
Okay, now I think you just Daze, right? That's got to be my initial play here.
I think so.
Wow. Dan's thinking about what to pitch.
Dan's pitching that Split Decision. There it goes.
Okay. It might be tough if he goes for an actual, like if he tries to go for an infinite kill. So... Yeah, because now Split Decision's gone. I mean, I don't even know if Dan knows the infinite kill loop. I don't know. You know, it's one of those things. It's a question you got to ask yourself.
Mountain off the top, not a great draw for Dan.
Yeah, and Dan's gonna go ahead and slam a jam of Blood Mama.
All right, Blood Moon not great when Mike is already on the table with this Gurmag Angler. Big time play from Mike Wallio. Was able to Daze that Force of Will as well.
Yeah, that Daze was nasty. Absolutely nasty. And Mike's going to go ahead and play down a mountain and swing for 5, but we know right now that the 5/5 is currently the king of the board.
Yeah, so Mike has 2 Force of Wills in hand, so he's got 1 shot at forcing something. And if I'm Dan, I'm jamming a Show and Tell here. It doesn't matter.
Oh.
I want to resolve my second one when I finally get something.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, but he didn't opt for that. Instead, now he's going to drop to 8.
And I think Dan might actually do it now.
He has to.
Yeah.
He has to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although, yeah, I think this.
He didn't go for it.
Yeah, that was the correct line because you
that was
jam
his
and
window.
you jam. Yeah.
Right.
But that's if he just draws another land, he could do it, but he would still be dead. It wouldn't matter. Yeah. Very interesting.
All right, Gurmag Angler in.
Oh, was that a Grizzle?
Grizzlebrand off the top.
Wow.
And if Daniel had just jammed the turn
Yeah,
before.
if he jammed, he would have got there. But
no land in hand.
he puts down the
Face down
puts
show
it
and tell.
down. Yeah.
Okay,
And a
that's getting
Force Will
forced.
pitching Flusterstorm. And I think is that a Spell Pierce in hand? Or is that a Force of Will?
There's a Taxiing Probe and another Force of Will in hand from Mike
Wow.
Wallio, so he's got a second Force
So he would have been
available.
able to double Force there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So
but it was crazy.
ultimately not mattering.
Yeah. But it was one of those things where like that was one of those lines where you're just looking at how much time you have and how many cards you have in hand.
Yeah.
And you just, Jesus take the wheel sort of thing.
Yeah. I think that at some point Daniel had to jam to
Yeah.
draw out counter spells. Like you're playing hearts essentially, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You have to draw out their trump cards and hopefully resolve yours.
On one of the first times I ever saw Omni Show being played, I actually saw Cedric Phillips. This was in a tournament in 2013. Cedric Phillips was playing way up north versus a Miracles opponent. And actually, at one point, his hand was like double sneak attack, triple show and tell. Or no, I think it was just like only show and tells, excuse me. And he just played a show and tell, and to his dismay, it resolved, and all he did was put in a Lotus Petal. And he was like, I didn't expect that to resolve. Here's a Lotus Petal. And he was playing the fully built Omni version.
But wait, did he have sneak attack in hand?
No, he didn't.
Oh, he didn't.
He would have put it.
Okay.
He would have put that in.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But when I was thinking about that line, I was just like, yeah, you got to jam. And I just remember like his opponent had a counterbalance in play,
Yeah.
and I think he played Brainstorm and Ponder, and he's like, yeah, I guess it resolves. There's no 3 on top, and I got no counterspell.
That is awesome.
So it slid right in, and
yeah,
nothing happened. If a tree falls over in the forest and no one's around to hear it, I guess
we are going to game 3
Show
here.
and Tell resolves and Lotus Petals in play.
This is our second match of this showdown. Dan Nguyen won the first match. Now we're on game 3 of match 2. This is it for this one, folks.
Yeah, this is a rubber match right here. I think if Mike Wallio can kind of turn the corner, he'll feel pretty good about pretty good about evening it up a little bit.
Mike wisely kept a largely interactive hand last game. No threat, found a threat early enough, luckily.
Yeah.
And let's see what he kept this time. Not sure. It looks like Dan has a very good hand for show and tell.
He's got a couple of ponders. I think he's got a couple of cantrips as well.
Yeah.
Dan has Emrakul, Lotus Petal. He just has those 2 cards. Just kidding. We're just getting some updates from our spotters down.
Defense Grid among the cards for Dan.
And
One of his sideboard
Grid,
cards.
Potentially a real big game breaker as it forces counter magic, or you have to get to a point where you have enough lands to pay for Defense Grid. Defense Grid coming in off of these Show and Tell decks is one of the big reasons why I like leaving in Spell Snare. Even though Spell Snare is largely dead, it's important to try to go for that 1-for-1 when you can.
Beat the Defense Grid. And it's such a huge card, too, against your blue-white-red deck, for example.
Yeah.
All right, Dan shuffling this Ponder. Didn't see what he wanted. Defense Grid, not good enough. And that's one of the things that's awkward about Ponder. If you see 2 cards you don't want and 1 card you're okay with, you can't keep it.
Yeah.
Keep it.
You know what's really interesting? There's a guy that's in our location right now that sometimes argues for Preordain over Ponder.
Yeah.
Do you know who that is?
Well, yeah, I believe. Are you talking about me?
No.
Oh.
There's another guy.
I feel that way.
Really?
Yeah.
You should talk to one of the guys here. Guess who it is?
Who is it?
Guess.
I have no idea.
Well, I mean, it's somebody who kind of thinks along a similar axis as you.
Is it you?
No. Well, I mean, we do think on similar axes.
Okay, I have no idea.
Jeremy Edwards
is
actually a big supporter of the Preordain in some decks.
In some decks, I agree.
I saw him play Preordain over Ponder in Rug Delver. You know, a deck that's super streamlined, wants to hit all of its cards just right.
Yep, exactly.
And I think playing a lot with Jeremy and talking to him about his card decisions, that is correct.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. You know, it kind of just, you take a step back and you're like, whoa, when would that ever happen?
Yeah.
But in those cases, he likes that card a lot.
Right. There's a defense grid from Daniel, so that's why he shuffled it. He already had one in hand.
Oh, wow.
Big time play. There's a daze from Mike Wallio.
Did you see how Mike kind of packed in his hand like that, that's kind of like the exclamation mark
Ooh.
when you lay a card down like
Just
that.
like
Yeah,
reholstering the gun.
Yeah.
You shot it, you reholster it, right?
Putting it back in there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, back to preordained as Daniel tries to resolve here. Looks like a Interturn Brainstorm. he's going for.
I think, he
Oh,
untapped,
okay. It's
Brainstorm
on
with
turn.
a
Okay.
fetch up.
Main phase.
Yeah.
Preordained is a card that Thomas Enevoldsen played 4 of at GP Madrid this past weekend.
Okay.
He went undefeated, 13-0-1
Okay.
in his matches, and no ponders, just 4 preordained in check pile.
Wow.
And so I agree with Rug Delver, first of all,
Okay.
and Jeremy, and I also agree in check pile. The reason being for check pile doesn't really care what cards it draws. It just wants to keep the engine humming along, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It wants to get ahead with card advantage.
Yeah.
It doesn't really care that you're drawing a third question mark card. You know, you don't want to have clunky, disjointed draws underneath your one pretty good draw.
I got it.
Right?
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So the idea is that you're just wanting that specific card in the top 2, or a random card if the 2 cards are just not what you want.
Right, and moreover, you just want to avoid the situation where you really need the one card, but the getting
cards.
2 bad cards is going to kill you.
I had that line when we played where I said, this is going to look weird, and I kept 2 lands specifically to equip Batterskull.
Oh, yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
Like,
No, yeah, you got to do that.
it was important, though.
Yeah.
You saw Dan actually, looks like he played Brainstorm, he cracked a fetch land. And he has a card, he has a land in hand that we haven't seen for an age and an age.
And what is that?
That card is Boseiju, who shelters all. A fantastic card from the Kamigawa era. And it is just, it comes into play tapped, so it's a little slow.
Okay.
But tap, pay 2 life. Whenever you cast a spell and it's sorcery, that card is uncounterable.
Yeah, it produces 1 colorless, right?
Yeah, it produces
and
1 colorless,
Using that
yeah.
mana, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Uncounterable.
It's pretty-
Uncounterable show and tell.
That's insane.
How do you deal?
I mean, the way you deal is you play Meddling Mage, naming show and tell, man. Like, it's tough. Like, or you Wasteland, or I actually played against Brad Rutherford at the Invitational. He was playing Sneak and Show, and he actually ended up nerfing himself because he thought I was playing a Blade deck, and he played a Moon. He played a Moon while having Boseiju in play. And I was like, whoa! Like, whoa! And then he looked at me crazy when I played my own Moon, and I'm like, well, I mean... I boarded them out for game 2. But like, it was just crazy, man.
Here's a brainstorm for Mike, and that was an end of turn brainstorm, so he's gonna be forced to draw one of those.
Yeah. Looks like he's a little tight on mana, a little tight on a situation here, but he's looking over at that board state, and he's seeing that his opponent has already flipped a couple cards. He's played a couple brainstorms, a defense grid, things like that.
Yeah.
Dan is kind of ramping up to lay down a haymaker, if I ever saw one.
There's a Pyro in Mike's hand, and little does he know, he doesn't actually need to have the defenses up here. Dan does not have a show and tell nor a sneak attack in hand. Of course, that could change.
Yeah, of course. I mean, one brainstorm away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the top 4 cards away from really changing your deck. That's the whole power of brainstorm. It just allows you to shuffle half your hand away and find some new cards.
Yeah.
So really a good position to be in if you're Dan, because you're not facing down a lot of pressure from your opponent. That being said, I mean, if any deck can turn the corner, a freshly top decked Grimag Angler could certainly do that. I think he's got a sideways. No, that's a Cabal Therapy in hand for Mike Wallio.
Unlucky tap there for Mike. He tapped his Underground Sea. Now doesn't have access to this Cabal Therapy. Dan's untapping, and we might see a little Boseiju action.
Yeah, maybe a Boseiju and a Brainstorm. I think the real question for Dan is, he's going to go ahead and pass and not play the Boseiju out.
Hide that Boseiju information. What do you think of that? There's a Brainstorm in the turn from Mike Wallio.
That's actually really interesting. It's also interesting, too, that, like, Dan has that Brainstorm where he can hide cards from being stripped away, but one of the cards in his hand is Emrakul, so if Emrakul hits the bin, it shuffles the cards that he tries to hide with his Brainstorm. I actually talked with the aficionado, the Sneak and Show aficionado, Tom Lynch, about this, and he says sometimes it's super awkward because you want to try to save cards on top of your deck, but you just have to play face up because their Thoughtseize can hit you.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a really interesting position to be in.
Ooh, there's a Gurmag Angler.
There's the fish.
Big time clock for Mike Wallio. Once again hits the board. This is what did it in game 2. Dan Nguyen has to find something. Brainstorm in response. No force. There is one force in hand for Dan Nguyen.
Oh, he scrambled a little bit, but it looks like he's found a bunch of blue cards, and this could be strong for Dan. He needs to counter, but I don't think he found any of his cheaty face cards. And there's a Blood Moon, but he's gonna have to force fight, and he's gonna have to draw 2 through those cards that he put back.
And Dan doesn't know that Mike's holding on to a red Elemental Blast. He might have been keyed into that based on how Mike tapped last turn, leaving the Volcanic Island up. But here it is, Force of Will, pitching Cunning Wish for Dan, and this is probably... Oh, Mike's not going to Red Blast.
He's not going to fight back. And does he have any other...
He's got a Young Pyromancer in hand.
Okay, does he have any other interaction or any other way to clock?
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, so, I mean, the last way that he was able to get there to victory was based off of this Grimag Angler. And at this point, he's going to be looking at his spot going, wow, this Pyroblast is not so great.
Mm-hmm. Dan not opting to play this Blood Moon. Really interesting. Maybe he wants the power of the Boseiju. That's a non-bow.
Yeah, well, that's exactly kind of that situation we were talking about, is how the Boseiju and the Blood Moon, I mean, sometimes they just conflict with each other.
Brainstorm, Scalding Tarn, Force of Will among the cards, or are the 3 cards that Mike Wallio drew there off this Brainstorm. So really good protection. Mike Wallio could take this one.
It's looking pretty crazy right now. Although the Boseiju really kind of, I mean, it means all sorts of crazy things, right? Mm-hmm. So you kind of wonder, if you're Mike Wallio in this spot, you're going to start shooting off a Cabal Therapy potentially. I mean, I actually faced down the Cabal Therapy on the wrong side when you and I were playing.
Yeah.
You were shooting Cabal Therapies and me with the Young Pyro in play. Yeah. And that is not fun.
No, that's not fun.
That's not good.
That's not fun.
You're just, look at Dan. He just reels back. He's just cranking back the... Oh, my goodness.
And Mike, of course, has the Cabal Therapy in hand. We could see a big-time therapy.
Oh, my gosh. And just when you fetch out a Black Source with a white, you know it's coming. Mm-hmm. It's coming like a truck. It's about to hit like a ton of bricks. Dan shuffling, weighing his options here, and the Cabal Therapy is going to go ahead and get fired off.
Oh, there it is. And here's an Elemental Token.
Oh, it's a Charmander.
Cabal Therapy. If you're Dan, are you spell piercing this here, or?
I mean, if you want to protect information, maybe. Mm-hmm. But oh boy, you're stripping. I mean, you're stripping counter match. I think you spell pierce.
Okay.
You spell pierce because you know that Cunning Wish is good, and also you have Lions.
Well,
here.
he doesn't have Cunning Wish anymore. He pitched that.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he's got Grizzleband, Blood Moon, and it looks like he is casting this spell pierce Emrakul in hand as well.
So if he does, I mean, he can get a random name. He can shoot again, right? But I think if you're Mike Wallio, you might be keyed in onto the fact that Dan just rolled out the Boseiju, and you're probably gonna go, he's forcing. Oh my gosh. Whoa, he's going for it.
Force pitching Brainstorm, big time play from Mike Wallio. He's saying you don't have anything left, Dan.
He's pushing it right here, and this is just, he's going for it here.
Not sure the name.
I gotta believe he named Show and Tell.
Okay.
I gotta believe he named Show and Tell, and now I think is he gonna flash back, or is he just gonna go ahead and cross his fingers?
Oh, I mean, if you flash back, you're not really achieving much, right? You're still leaving your opponent with one of the dudes in your hand, right?
It's weird. It's just so weird though. Like, I mean, who knows what else is in Mike? What else is in his hand? Mike's hand.
Oh, there goes the flashback, and he's gonna take the Blood Moon. There goes the Blood Moon. 2 dudes in hand for Dan Nguyen. He has to find a Show and Tell now. Pass turn.
There was a top deck right there.
Not sure what that was.
Another Emrakul? Just Emrakul's on deck.
Emrakul, Grizzlebrand. Swing for 4, says Mike Wallio.
And I think he's going to go ahead and crank up another piece of interaction. I think this is a Ponder, or is it going to be a Clock Quickener? Ponder is going to make more guys.
There's a Gitaxian Probe.
He's paying mana. He doesn't want to go underneath 15.
Show you 2 Emrakuls.
Ooh, right there.
Oh,
bada
boy.
bing, bada boom.
Mike Wallio with the engine on. Young Pyromancers producing tokens.
Dan
Nguyen down to 13.
Grid. Oh, that card is just the wrong side. And Mike's gonna go ahead and pay and spell pierce that. Wow, and it's gonna cost Dan 2 more. Oh boy.
Is Dan paying for this now? Is he gonna take the two life?
I don't think he can because it's redundant.
He's paying for it.
It's a redundant effect, unless he has. It's a redundant effect.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
But he's gonna go ahead and let it go.
All right. Oh my goodness gracious!
This is crazy, and a daze comes down. Okay, I think what Mike actually really wanted to do was just build elemental count, right?
Right,
Now,
he doesn't care.
Yeah,
He doesn't
now,
care.
Yeah, now Mike is facing down. Dan's facing down 5 tokens plus a young Pyromancer. That's 7 power.
This is 2-turn clock.
Yeah, 2-turn clock.
And look, even if Mike can somehow get this Grizzlebrand out of hand, actually, an Emrakul show and tell in is not going to do it.
Yeah. 14
Not good
is
enough.
the life total. 14 is the life total for Mike Wallio. Now he feels like it's okay to go into the threshold of the beast. Yeah, he has that. Oh, he already burned it.
Oh, Wasteland from Mike Wallio. Beseiju down. Dan Nguyen does not have that uncounterable clause for his top deck show and tell if he were to get it.
Yeah. So Mike just attacking on every single angle at this point. The top deck for Dan, and it's going to be a move to round number 3. A fantastic, just a hold on.
What a match
by Mike Wallio. It was crazy. That was an insane match. And Mike breathes a big sigh of relief. Dan's going to go ahead and deboard and get ready for round 3.
You can see
Round
Michael
3.
smiling. Like
One round goes to Mike Wallio, 1 round goes to Dan Nguyen. Each of our players have to win with each of their 3 decks. Okay, so Dan Nguyen now has the option of moving off of Sneak and Show, or he can stay on it if he'd like, because he's eventually going to have to win with it.
Yeah, and his other decks in his pool are obviously elves, so we can decide to go to a more comfort zone area.
Yeah,
but he's looking like he's grimacing a little bit, and you can kind of tell who's previously won. You know, their spirits are a little bit more.
Yeah,
they're a little more
language.
relieved. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It always feels relaxing when you can kind of win one and you don't get swept, and you're like, okay, I can actually play a match and I can do fine.
Yeah,
So
you're on the brink of getting swept.
I was.
You came back.
Oh my god.
You came back.
Oh my god.
Big time.
That was
Big
scary.
Time. So Mike Wallio winning with the Grixis Delver list. Now he's going to have to win with Burn and Grixis Ninja. I'll tell you, I really like the way Mike Wallio played with those cantrips.
Yeah.
I love the decision making. I'd like to see Mike play more decks with that turbocharges through more Xerox type decks.
Okay.
Thought he made some great decisions on those cantrips. Unfortunately, he had to go for a number of end of turn brainstorms, but pretty cool to see. I'd love to see him on my Grixis Control Pyromancer list.
Jeremy, actually, you want to come in and sit in this chair, and actually, there's one thing that I do want to ask you about, or potentially have you explain. Yeah, we'll go. I'll swap out with Mike Tessier, and I have a question for you because Mike and I had this great dialogue, a little bit about, and we'll go ahead and swap after I ask this question to Jeremy. We talked a little bit about preordain.
Right.
versus
Ponder.
Yeah, specifically versus Ponder. Actually, and we talked a little bit about how I remember you a long time ago.
It was years ago.
Well, yeah, years ago. You were playing a Rug Delver deck, and rather than playing with Ponders, you were playing with Preordains. And it at the time I was like, that's so strange. Everybody plays Ponder, you know. And
Yeah.
I was a little bit, but that was back a little bit more when I was a carbon copy kind of guy, where I was playing a little bit more of the decks that you see online.
That was, it was quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I've actually since reversed.
Really?
And now I would always just play Ponder. And the reason why is because I most frequently find myself pondering with a Delver deck.
Uh-huh.
And it's always just going to be find my second land.
Yeah. Got it.
And because finding the second land is so important in that matchup, I'm willing to dig deeper, see more cards, and be able to get that land. Because if I don't hit the land, oftentimes, especially in a Delver Mirror, it's just game over if they wasteland you. So.
Right, right. Yeah, and there's a lot more. So it might be more meta
I
dependent.
won't say it's always game over, but it's often game over if they wasteland you and they're advancing their board and you aren't advancing yours.
Yeah, so that's actually really interesting for me because I was sitting there thinking about it, and your argument for Preordain over Ponder, just at the time, you know, for inside Rug Delver is a deck that is so, I mean, it's even more streamlined than the Grixis Delver decks are in today's meta. Like, Grixis Delver can stretch a couple different ways. You've got True Name Nemesis and Grimag that carry a lot of weight towards the middle and late game, and Deathrite Shaman is, of course, everybody understands that card's really good.
Actually see the Preordain thing come up a lot in Pauper with the Is It Delver deck.
Interesting.
Because that
Is It
has
Blitz?
both Preordain and Ponder in it, and so you'll be considering whether you should play your Ponder or whether you should play your Preordain.
I see.
Based
right.
on what you want to get next.
Right.
And that deck also has Augur Bolas. So sometimes you want to set up your Augur, or you've already seen it, and so you know, okay, I'm going to bottom these with the Augur trigger.
Got it. Yeah. So certainly a really interesting distinction. While that those cards are like kind of the fine grains of Legacy, they do kind of change the overall, like the way that your deck kind of functions just generally, if that makes any sense.
Right.
You know?
There's certain things that you can do with one that you can't do with the other.
Exactly.
When you want your shuffles.
Yeah, or if you have to bottom 2 cards and then draw one, it's a little different. If you're searching for single cards, sometimes
it can be helpful to know what's on the bottom of your deck.
That's true.
And
that's true.
How many copies of something you've already gone through.
Yeah.
Whereas with Ponder, you could be seeing the same copy and you just wouldn't know.
Yeah. Or I'll shuffle away a Batterskull and then I'll just snap draw the exact same Batterskull. Happens all the time. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and jump down below deck and probably do some card spotting. I'm not very good at that. It's actually like really hard because there's so many cards that pop up and you're like, I have no idea what that card
And then
is.
players keep shuffling.
Yeah.
Well,
But
we
I'm gonna
had
jump.
all the brainstorms the last round.
Yeah, that was insane.
I kept changing as soon as I would change the hand. The hand would change again.
Yeah, I was actually like, I had it easy with black red, but I'm gonna go.
They're just so dumb.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and jump down there, guys, and we're gonna have Miles Wallio and Jeremy Edwards getting ready for round number 3. See you guys down there.
Also helps when your opponent mulls to 4 and you only have 4 cards to spot instead of 8.
Yeah, it certainly helps out a lot.
Yo. What's going on with my
Alright, Miles.
Chilling in the background.
What are we gonna see for this contest?
I don't know. I'm
See,
trying to
he
adjust
said-
my mic, but knobs are
He
too.
said there were cards in common with his next deck.
So Michael
so it's
is
probably gonna be Grixis Ninjas then.
Let me see.
Oh, is
for
that his
for
third
Michael.
deck?
Michael is
He
currently
called it Ninja Control.
Michael's
Yeah.
currently sleeving up Ninja Control.
He went really deep. It's
Uh,
got lots
I
of
knew.
ninjas that you don't usually see, like Throat Slitter.
This is the deck that he brought specifically for elves and show and tell. So it's if he wins with this, it's gonna be tough because he'll have burn left, which burn
This is good against elves.
Burn's position in the meta is not really high right now.
He does have a main deck Venser in this Ninjas deck, which
Yes.
would be insane if he was able to get that.
So this deck has Venser. It has the Throat Slitter that you mentioned. So let me see if I can pull that up here. So what Throat Slitter lets you do is if it deals damage to your opponent, you get to destroy a creature they control. And what's great is this deck has Baleful Strix, which Emrakul doesn't want to chump block.
Right.
And you ninjutsu this out, get your Baleful Strix back, and Emrakul still goes away. It has Spell Stutter Sprites for your cantrips. It has Verdalian Click to add to your fairy count, and it has a lot of counter spells main deck
Also
just to
runs
deal
main
with
deck
it.
Hymn to Torak as a 2 of.
Yeah, so this deck is designed to like take on combo or take on control.
Ooh, is Dan bringing his elf counter out?
Dan is staying on show and tell right now.
Okay.
So
Yeah, Dan's had that Duelist Abacus out there since the beginning. Is that what you mean by the elf
Well,
counter?
he just moved it to the center of the table.
Ah. He's maybe doing that just to,
Psych him out.
yeah.
That's fair.
did Dan re-sleeve all the decks, or do people re-sleeve?
Dan re-sleeved all my sleeves.
Yeah, I know Michael went and bought like 6 packs of purple sleeves.
I could tell how Dan was shuffling. The sleeves shuffle differently than your sleeves do.
So people are asking brews or pimp decks to show. Daniel Nguyen is playing one of the most pimped out versions of Omni Show in the state of Washington. And Michael Wallio is bringing you Ninja Control, which is a deck that was specifically designed to take on control and combo decks.
So to answer Tim the Wilder, they do not know what other decks each other have chosen. It's part of the gamesmanship. You're trying to predict what your opponent is going to bring to the table.
So Michael is mulling away his hand. The thing is, he knows what his opponent is on. So,
does he know Dan kept the deck out there?
Yeah.
Or did Dan throw it on the table, mix it up, and pull it back out?
I think he knows, but
okay.
This should be a pretty interesting matchup. I don't know if Michael has much of an edge, but he quite possibly has an edge here.
This probably doesn't feel good mulling to 5 against Show and Tell with them keeping 7. So Dan has Tarn, Boseiju, Gristlebrand, Volcanic Island, Split Decision, Island, and Show and Tell in hand. So he can go off turn 3 through counter spells.
That's pretty darn strong. There's only one Wasteland in Michael's deck to deal with a Boseiju pre-board. Doesn't look like he has any post-board either. So, Boseiju is going to be a powerful weapon.
You're welcome.
I was actually shocked. It seemed like a lot of people were going away from Boseiju. So the fact that it's
no faith.
There,
gotta have the heart of the cards.
I
draw the one of.
If I was going to be playing Show and Tell, I would definitely be playing Boseiju. Because you're more likely to encounter counter spells as interaction than Wasteland.
Right. So Dan just drew a Ponder. Fire off the Ponder here. And Ponders, is that a Cunning Wish and a Force of Will? Or Spell Pierce?
Judge Cunning Wish.
Pierce.
Oh, Pierce.
I might shuffle that.
Oh, he's keeping the Spell Pierce. Which is, I don't understand, because he has the Boseiju, so you're not going to be fighting the counter wars here. Yeah. But I guess he doesn't know what his opponent's on. So if his opponent is also on like Show and Tell from the Scalding turn that he put into play, you definitely don't want to like risk it. But Michael fetched a Badlands here.
All about risking
so
it. Deck is all about risking it. No guts, no glory.
Dan is maybe thinking that this is
Black Red Reanimator.
Oh, announced Entombed. Okay. That was great. Apparently he said he was going to entomb, and Dan's like face just dropped. So all right. Tropical Island holding up 2 forces. Yeah, Boseiju coming down here. Forces probably don't feel so good right now.
Yeah, this is looking pretty over.
All right, take 2.
Uncountable
Show and Tell
coming up.
You could Venser it.
It's true. If he has a Venser, it's a Throat Slitter.
All right, we got a reader here.
Slitter.
This is the one that deals damage. So Gristlebrand is going to be on blocking duty until Dan can resolve another Show and Tell. Or unless he can Cunning Wish for a...
Ooh, Deathrite Shaman.
Dan could Cunning Wish for a
Wipe Away.
Kozilek's Return. Or a Wipe Away. There's many options Dan has here. So.
Ooh, he's attacking.
No guts, no glory.
Oh, kills a non-black creature.
Oh.
Oh, that's actually bad.
May as well draw 7 here and just go for the win. Okay. And take it easy.
So does Mike have Edict's main deck or anything?
Doesn't appear he has any
he had
edicts. He has his Venser.
I thought he had 1. Oh, is it sideboard?
He has two in the board.
Okay. All right, swinging for 3.
What in the world does Skull Snatcher do?
Skull Snatcher allows you to what is it?
I don't know.
Is,
so
is the ninja a May?
It exiles.
Is the ninja a May?
Yeah, Ninja's a May for
destroy target non-black creature.
For dropping it in.
No, for destroying target non-black creature. Yeah.
Alright, so Skull Snatcher. Whenever Skull Snatcher deals damage to a player, exile 2 cards from that player's graveyard. So that would have been good against Reanimator.
Can we pull up Throat Slayer real quick?
Oh, we already had throws.
I don't know if it's mandatory or not.
There were no targets though.
Well, yeah, his other ninja. Or is it only opponent controls? You know about
Oh, that
controls?
player. Yeah,
Okay.
so the
Alright.
player that you deal damage to. Alright, so I think game 1 is going to Dan. The
No
oh,
mercy.
Spell Pierce on the Force Will. Or Spell Pierce on the Brainstorm. That's Force on the Spell Pierce.
Very desperate brainstorm.
It's kind of like, what is he digging for?
Hope.
Probably Edict. I think you'd assume Edict.
Swing it.
The end of land.
Does he have a... Does anyone know the ninja cards?
You could draw.
Yeah.
You could draw a Baleful Strix. That's not terrible.
Oh, yeah, he could get Baleful
He
Strix.
just-
Oh, packing
that
it
at least
in.
blocks Crystal Brand, but Dan would be able to pay a lot of life to.
So there's the
Yeah,
one ninja
Force
that
Will.
bounces. Like, you can ninjutsu it in for a single blue, and it bounces a creature that they control.
Let's bring up this. Is that Higuri?
Oh,
Still
Higure.
Wind?
Higure, the
Higure?
still win, makes it so your ninja cannot be blocked. So tap to target ninja cannot be blocked. Whenever Higure deals damage to a player, you may search your library for a ninja and put it into your hand. So this is like the goblin matron of ninjas.
So in this case, Dan should bring in the defense grids, but not the blood moons.
If only Mike had a way to turn Fencer into a ninja. This deck would be great.
I'm not sure if Dan knows he shouldn't bring in Blood Moon because
Yeah, I don't think he does.
he only saw the non-basic lands, which now Michael has the basics that he can fetch around it. So but Michael will be on the play this time, hopefully starting off with more than 5 cards. Sorry. Oh, Dan sided in 3 Blood Moons, taking out a Preordain, Flusterstorm, and Ancient Tomb.
Nope.
So Thoughtseize, Flusterstorm, Diabolic Edict, and maybe Surgical Extraction and Jace
Yeah,
would be the
so-
cards that would probably be coming in from Michael's side.
2 Pyros, 2 Edicts, 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Surgical, and 2 Flusterstorm.
So he's not bringing in Jace.
There's one Jace main deck, so I think bringing in the second one doesn't do much here because you can't show and tell it in, and
Right.
you have to, even if you get show and tell on the land to accelerate into Jace, you have to make sure you can resolve it.
Could bounce Emrakul though. If you show in one of your extra lands, that's possible. It's probably better than some of these ninjas.
Possibly. I do think that the Venser is probably a better one than the.
Well, yeah, definitely.
There's like
It's gotta be the best
there's
card
a
in the
bunch of
75.
there's a bunch of answers in this deck for what Dan's trying to do. It's just a matter of finding it. Like Dan's hand, turn 3 uncounterable show and tell.
It's pretty powerful.
Unless he had like Boseiju turn 1 followed by 2 Lotus Petals, I don't think you can do much better than that. So
So he's gonna cut the pushes, the bolts, hopefully, and the marsh casualties.
Yeah, it'll definitely get a lot better for Michael
Probably
than it
here.
gets for Dan.
Dan is putting on his serious face. He is ready to throw down. So those of you who are participating in chat, if you just want to throw who you think is going to win this showdown, Michael Wallio won with Grixis Delver, so he still needs to win with Ninja Control and Burn. Dan Nguyen has already won with Red Black Reanimator, so he needs to win with Show and Tell and Elves. So Mike's on the play. He apparently kept... Okay. Leading with the Tropical Island. Spell Sprite in hand, which is kind of interesting with 2 Force of Wills. So as long as Dan doesn't... Ooh, what is he casting here? Okay. Baleful Strix because you have 2 Force of Will backup. Dan currently has Tomb, Flooded Strand, Omniscience, Gristlebrand, Cunning Wish, Brainstorm, Intuition, and Force of Will. Blue decks have too many cards. They keep updating the hands. So for those of you wondering how this event gets put on, we're a bunch of local players in the Seattle area. And most of us like see each other at tournaments and stuff, and we're like, how do you arrange the hierarchy, I guess, or how do you prove your worth? Because when you go to a big event like a 1K, there's so much variance that goes on, and you don't get to show your talents with multiple decks. You're stuck on the deck that you were playing for that. So this is kind of showing your breadth of decks and talents and taking on friend. So let's see, Brainstorm from Daniel Nguyen. So for those of you tuning in, Daniel Nguyen is known as an Elves Master, and he wound up bringing 3 combo decks to take on Mike.
I guess Elves is fair. I guess it's fair to say Elves is a combo deck.
Mike is known for Burn, primarily, and this Ninja Control deck that he's been working on and brewing. And knowing that Dan likes combo, he went for this Ninja Control deck.
Yeah, I think the choices, the color choices were pretty good. Playing tempo or control decks were pretty good answers to turn 1 combo decks.
Yeah, I think Burn is probably sadly the weakest deck in the bunch, but
I think if Dan had chosen other decks, then Burn could have been better positioned.
yeah. So swinging in with Ninja here again. Ninja's going to draw Michael more cards. He already has multiple forces in hand, 3 forces with what appears to be 3 cards to pitch to them. And I think he might actually have to discard to hand size. So that's kind of what this Ninja deck does. It gets so much card advantage and so much counter spells. It's slightly nicer than playing Standstill because you established a faster clock while still outpacing your opponent. I feel like this is kind of dangerous here because
it's going to be an intuition in response to the Baleful
intuition.
Strix.
Okay. I thought it might be a Cunning Wish.
Do we know what does Dan have in his hand?
Brainstorm
And
and
a whole bunch of unreadable
wants to
invocations.
show
So
tell.
he has Omni, Gristlebrand, Cunning Wish, Intuition,
His Force.
Forceful, Spell Pierce, and Force.
So he just wants the omniscience.
So Mike actually has 2 more forces in comparison, or 1 more
Yeah,
force in
right.
comparison.
So he wants
So,
to show
some
and
loaded hands.
Well, what's interesting here is if he did Michael, I don't think, did he keep the surgical? Because if Dan finds the show and tell and gets it into hand before he passes turn, he can surgical the show and tell.
That would
Yeah.
definitely be worth a big fight. But it looks like Michael is
Okay,
choosing
forcing
to
the
fight
intuition.
here.
Force pitching.
I believe that's
Spell
Spell
Pierce?
Pierce.
No, that's on the
Invocation Force and Invocation
Yeah.
Spell Pierce.
yeah,
All
that's
right,
what it
Intuition is resolving.
Does he have it in hand?
Dan is going for 3 show and tells.
He does have the surgical in
Yeah, he has the surgical in hand. Oh,
So Baleful Strix resolves, draws a card.
all right. Surgical. I hope it's the surgical. I really want this.
Yeah, Mike is playing
Surgical on the show and tell.
And Dan will use a force on this and get forced back. Michael's already got his hands on the card.
Yeah.
Cannot play it fast enough.
He's like, I got this. Force pitching force, though. What else was in?
All right.
Oh,
you can
when
see
he
the rest
brainstormed, he
of
put away.
Dan's hands, and he has another show and tell in hand.
He's going to be left with Gristlebrand and Omniscience. That's not going to feel good right
And
now.
he has no more show and tells left in his library.
Even if he finds a sneak attack, he's been fetching basic islands.
And he doesn't even have red right now, so
Yeah.
if he drew sneak attack, he still has to draw an island. Or sorry, draw a
Lotus
red
Petal.
source first.
Yeah.
Any fetch land, Volcanic Island, or Lotus Petal. Followed by sneak attack, followed by another turn, which I don't think he even has, because he's going to take 3 next turn to play the sneak attack. If he draws it, he has to use his Ancient Tomb.
Oh. Sorry, we have spotters are chatting, and the chat is getting... I wish we could share the chat. Him to Torok, someone's like, him is in Michael's hand. Dan's going to pass back, and it's going to be a good game.
Well, yeah, if he gets him, then he'll have straight nothing.
Yeah, he played his land, so he does have the red source, but now
That's
he's
a good draw, but
he's
think
he's not
still
going
dead.
to. Yeah.
He would need to have a sweeper to buy him more turns.
Okay, so in for 3. Draw off of the Ninja of the Deep Hours, land for turn.
This is going to be the
Him to Torok.
Ooh, yeah. Here goes the hand. I think Dan gets one more draw step before he's going to concede.
Deathrite, pass.
Oh, it's a pre-drain. You can see what might have been.
Show and tell
Ponder Lotus Petal?
Oh, Ponder Lotus Petal. Sorry. Show and tells were extracted. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh. Lotus Petal on bottom. Draw the Ponder. Ponder. Can you turn this around? Blood
Island,
Moon?
Sneak Attack, and Blood Moon.
You just bottoms the Lotus Petal.
I mean, he can't sneak anything in. He's got no cards.
Yeah.
Oh, he has the fetch. Okay.
But if he fetches here, he's...
I mean, he still can't cast and activate.
Yeah.
So
Michael just has lands in hand, though, which is kind of bad. Land for turn. Baleful Strix will replace a card. I'm not sure if you need to do that. I guess you're already in the position where you're winning. In for 3. Draw another card. Deathrite's going to take him down to 2.
This Ninja of the Deep Hours has drawn a lot of cards in this game.
Yeah. Okay, Dan's just going to pick it up. Michael takes it with... Oh, wait, no. They're going to game 3.
So this is round 4 of the Showdown.
So Mike has to win with Ninja Control, and if he does that, then he moves to Burn as his final deck, which he has to beat both Show and Tell, or he has to beat Elves, which is probably one of the toughest matchups still.
Yeah, we haven't seen Elves on camera yet, so...
I was kind of shocked. I think Michael might have been shocked too, because Michael started off the Showdown with Burn, which is his signature deck.
Right.
And Daniel starts off the Showdown with Black Red Reanimator, which is like, that's going to set the mood for the night, and that's going to show that, like, Dan came here to win.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's usually a pretty lopsided matchup. Sideboarding matters a lot, but being a reanimator player, occasionally when I play against Burn, it feels very good.
Oh, didn't shuffle off a ponder and then drew 2 blank cards. Okay, blood moons were taken out. Defense grids are coming in.
Okay, good.
Which is actually really strong against ninja control. So the big thing is ninjas are gonna have to stay faster than show and tell, which if Dan has a hand like he did game 1 is very difficult.
Defense grid also will largely turn off Diabolic Edict, because you would only edict on their turn.
Yes.
I guess you could edict if it was a show and tell past the turn.
Dan's hand
situation,
looks
but-
pretty good. Show and tell, brainstorm, ponder, and some
think an
fetch
Emrakul?
lands, and possibly an Emrakul. Yeah, Emrakul.
Yeah, that looks like a good hand.
Michael Mulligan's?
Michael is mulling, yes. Oh, city, flooded strand, show and tell, brainstorm, ponder, and Emrakul. Oh wait, no, sorry, that's no Emrakul. Sorry, it's hard to judge by the camera. So the city looks like an Emrakul from the side. All right, Michael's down 6, keeping that. Windows pop up. All right, Deathrite Shaman, Thoughtseize, Verdilian Click, Delta, and Scalding Tarner in Michael's hand.
Well, that represents a turn 2 Vendilion Click, so that's not terrible.
There's no counter magic here though, and off the brainstorm, Dan just found a defense grid. Or Ponder, he just found a defense grid.
Yeah, that's a defense grid. Invocation defense grid.
Alright. Yeah, Thoughtseize here.
Or
Ooh.
Invention defense grid.
Always put the defense grid.
Thoughtseize is
second
pretty
from the
great.
top.
I'm going to say he's going to lose the show and tell here.
Yeah, I feel show and tell feels like a better.
Well, based on his hand, the defense grid
Yeah,
is probably the bigger threat.
well, Michael doesn't have anything in hand to actually.
Counter, so he's probably fine with that in this case. But
Oh,
if he
that's
had a hand like he did last time,
well. It kind of depends because if your opponent just pondered and kept something on top of their library,
that's true.
and he has a City of Traders in hand, so if that was so he just had Gristlebrand on. So if he let him keep the show and tell, then he could just.
Yeah.
Alright, well, here comes defense grid. That resolves.
Yeah, defense grid is going to resolve. This is going to be slightly worse for the ninja deck now.
So if Michael wants to cast spells on Dan's turn, he will now have to pay 3 extra mana to do that.
Brainstorm in response to the defense grid.
Is that in response, or is this on Michael's first main?
Well,
With CBN taps. Yeah, he didn't.
oh
have
no,
taps,
that
so
was during his
first
main. Okay. Surgical targeting.
Surgical show and tell again. And
that was a really good find off the top.
defense grid is symmetrical too. So
Yep.
Dan is not going to have any responses to anything that Michael would be doing on his turn unless Dan has 3 mana up.
Each life
It's going to be a little harder to win without show and tell.
Yep.
It's not like the deck is named after it.
There's a sneak in there too.
Sneak and show.
So there's no through the breach that gets
It's in the sideboard.
it's in the sideboard.
So he can still Cutting Wish for Through the Breach.
Yep.
But the issue is he's going to have to Cutting Wish on his turn.
Yep.
Right.
And does this deck have Cabal Therapies, or is it just Slot Seizes?
Michael's deck does not have Cabal Therapies or Gataxian Probes. It has the 2 hymns,
Thought Seizes,
2 Thought Seizes that came in,
and 4
and,
3 Snapcasters.
Snapcasters to buy them back. Yeah, the Kolagon's Command came out, and that's the extent of the discard.
All right,
Ooh,
Deathrite
good.
being
Dan
played.
put the fear in him. Made him search out a swamp. A basic.
Emrakul off the top.
That feels good after getting your show and tell taken away. Ponder from Dan. Ponder is going to find Force of Will, Defense Grid, and another
Ancient
Soul
Tune.
Land.
Yeah,
Those are cards you don't want to see. He really needs to find a red source and then like a sneak attack or a cunning wish.
he needs to use his brainstorms on his turn as well, because he can't do them in response to Michael's discard. If
Another
Michael's discard.
Emrakul. That probably doesn't feel good. Not casting his brainstorm here.
I think
He
you should.
forgot.
I think you should play brainstorm on his main phase. Then, if he hits another land, he can play out the land for his land for the turn instead of just not making a land drop.
Part of the issue, though, I think, is he doesn't know what's on top, and he's already locked in with 3 fatties in hand with a soul land. And it's kind of like if he casts the brainstorm, there's a good chance he might just be locked.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, what is
he did get
this?
him last
Verdilian
game.
Click.
See, now he can't. Now he's just gonna lose the brainstorm. So this is a much worse position. Oh, what's off the top?
Island off the top. I'm not sure if that's better or not.
Well, it's better because he gets to
He can
get
play-
closer to playing out Cunning
Oh,
Wish.
Omniscience. He has the 3. Omniscience is...
10.
But how many blue?
3 blue.
Well, he's not gonna hardcast any
So
of those this
we
game.
we could be on the hardcast Omniscience plan.
And Julian Click gets there faster than that.
Yeah.
All
We
right,
need to
all
rip
right.
Soul
You need to
Land,
somehow
Soul Land, Soul Land.
Gain all of your opponent's lands to play that.
Spellstutter Sprite.
All right, that one's not bad.
Eat that. This is kind of getting dangerous now. It's like
Next
you
turn,
really want to
sneak
find
attack.
you really want to find a
Him to Torok from Mike.
Spellstutter Sprite.
Mm.
I was gonna say find a Force of Will and hold up the 3 blue. Lotus Petal to find. Can that get him there? I'd play the Lotus Petal out, yeah, just to hopefully find the.
Should have played the Soul Land.
All right, yeah, that's
Wait,
game.
what was the top card? Flip the top card. Flip the top card.
Oh, Dan didn't reveal.
He's searching. He's searching.
Guru Swamp Spice. Yeah, Michael loves his basic lands choices. If you look, he's moved to all old border just because he likes the artwork better, and it gives you a lot more selection. And his primary deck is Burn, and everyone who plays Burn has like the Arabian Nights Mountains, which it's like if you have the Arabian Nights Mountain in your Burn deck, then you're just like everyone else who's pimping out their Burn deck. So it's
Yeah.
like it's
It's not a Guru Swamp. Guru lands are the ones that have the
or
gold.
these are arena. Correct.
These are the arena promos.
All right, so Mike has won with 2 decks. He's down to just Burn, and he has to win with Burn against Show and Tell
And elves.
which Show and Tell is Burn is a buy for Show and Tell.
Yeah.
And
That's a beating.
Elves is just a difficult matchup.
Okay.
So let's bring it back to the booth here. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm Miles Wallio, Jeremy Edwards, Brian Bennett. Just a quick shout out to and thanks to everyone else who's helping out here. So we have Josh Monks, Jordan Isaka. We have
Michael Tessier.
Oh, did I not mention Mike Tessier?
Not yet.
He's just standing over there. he's in my line of sight. So, and then we have players Mike Wallio and Daniel Nguyen. One hails from the Fire Nation and one from the Earth Nation. And will the Avatar come and save us? I don't know. But Mike's currently ahead.
He's got 2 rough matchups.
This is not Jordan's house.
This is the Wallios.
This is the Wallio compound,
Yeah.
or whatever people call it.
Brutal were those surgicals? Just
Those surgicals were
Solid.
disgusting. Yo, do you mind if I step in here and I
Yeah,
just
you
say
can.
something really quick?
J-Dog, let's play Pooper.
Okay, we're playing Pooper.
Yeah.
That's gross.
Let's play Pooper.
Okay, yeah, we'll do some. We'll do a little bit of that. But I will. So I don't know if anybody's in the chat. Is this Jordan's house? Yeah. So what I will say, guys, we were when I was watching. I kind of talked to Dan, because he just lost twice with sneak attack. And one of the things I thought about when I was playing against Mike was I had lost. So I lost against his. I lost against that. I lost to his Grixis control deck. I lost to the Grixis control deck, and I lost to. I was down a game versus his Merfolk deck when I was playing sneak attack, and I sat there for like 3 minutes, and I'm like, is this the hill that I die on? Am I just not going to get a chance to play any deck that I'm actually known for playing? And that's one of the things you worry about when you're you're either on a losing streak or something like that. You're just like, is there another decision? Is there another deck that I could play? The thing is that sneak attack deck is it's really fun when it apes your opponent, and sometimes it's brutal, man, because your opponent starts interacting with you and doing things you don't expect, and it's tough. It'll tie you in a knot and it'll keep you there.
What is it? He lands the defense grid, which is a great position to be in, especially with where he was.
Yeah.
And then Michael brainstorms into that surgical, right?
Oh, double surgical. And just super brutal.
It's kind of awful because you just landed your key piece that...
To defend, to protect you against on the stack effects, but the one thing that hits you is just your graveyard. And I think it would be good for Dan to stand up and mess and move around a little bit and kind of reset the engine, but... I think he's ready to get in there and fight, and we'll see where these guys want to go. I know
it's kind of Michael's stuck on Burn now. His other 2 decks are gone, and Burn versus Show and Tell. It's
not a great spot to be.
Almost unlosable.
It's almost like, do we just move on to Burn versus Elves and watch the 2 people for the decks that they're known for?
That would actually be really. I mean, that would obviously be really cool. We'll have to see what happens, because if I'm Dan, I would almost question: do I want to try to get there off of this? Because if you think about this, if he loses all 3 with Sneak and Show, dude, that'd be so rough, So that's one of a decision that he has to make, a macro decision where he has to figure out where he wants what he wants to make a stand with. So I think he's kind of in the tank on that, or he might be ready to rumble. So I'm gonna get back down there and do some more hand spotting, guys. But the most excellent Jordan, we got to fight. I'm getting some call outs here. You'll add percentage points once you whiteboard or sneak attack deck, bro. Well, it's not my deck, and to be completely honest, that's Brian Bennett's deck. It has showed up on stream a couple times with the Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
For the showdowns, it has a 100% show rating. So
it's always there. It's always there. So the next person. Even though his opponent won, he has an option to switch decks. Sean Dagnan.
Well, I don't think he should. I think Elves was a worse matchup.
Well, I think it's more of a regular game, but
the issue is you're going to have to play with. If he wins with Show and Tell, he has to play with Elves still. And if he loses with Elves, he falls back to Show and Tell, which is already a really good deck to be on against Burn.
Yeah. I just one of those things where if he has to make a tough decision and he loses, it's gonna oh boy, it's gonna be a tough one.
And this match isn't unwinnable.
Burn can still get there. It's got chances. I mean, he's not the big thing that Dan doesn't know is there are no ensnaring bridges in the sideboard for Mike. Correct. There are no cards that are good against in this matchup for Mike. Mike is just going full on. I'm gonna try to beat your Elves deck with this.
Yeah, I feel like this one, Volcanic Fallout and Pyroclasm are in the sideboard.
Oh my god!
He's aiming for elves. 4 Syrian Bloods in
That
the sideboard
is a
with
lot.
3 Syrian Blazes
in the main. Yeah, he's really ready to ramp up and take down elves. So
I don't think Michael is he doesn't like this is a match he is perfectly fine losing.
Yeah,
as long as he doesn't show all the tricks that are in the deck.
Yeah. He's fine with conceding it. And a lot of these cards, like, I mean, maybe Grafdigger's Cage. Grafdigger's Cage doesn't come in this matchup, but he's got, like,
the best card in this matchup is Sulfuric Vortex.
Or, like, Surgical, maybe. Yeah, Vortex.
Surgical and Vortex. Like, if Daniel has to do the thing where he intuitions at the end of your turn for the things and pitches them to the graveyard.
Yeah, then Surgical might work, but that's a long shot. That's a specific line.
And it's already a line that's...
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and just get down there.
All right, it's already a line that has happened, so I.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Yeah,
all right,
I thought Mike was gonna be up here, but that's fine. Oh yeah, okay, yeah,
all right.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna head down.
Let's do it.
You guys know how to work everything?
Yeah, we're good.
We have the spots then. All right, I'll head down and spot Dan.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm gonna be in the booth with the one and only Josh Monks, the War Monks himself. Perhaps the next person to show up on the Seattle Showdown's channel. We're going to have Josh Monks and Miles Wallio are going to be facing off. So we're going to go ahead and go down to the actual play area. And of course, there's a little bit of a back massage, a back rub going on. I don't know who that is. Oh, it's Brian Bennett. It's a team member. It's a fellow Boulder team member between myself, Brian, and Daniel Nguyen. And they're going to go ahead and shuffle up. Looks like they're rolling dice right now. My goodness. Yeah, got to get a fresh drink.
No, I just had to find it.
Oh, man.
Couldn't find where I put my drink.
Oh, there it is.
Got it there. Ready.
Wow. And
right.
Dan has reloaded with...
Is he back on Sneak?
He's going for a third bullet.
And of course, Michael is on his final deck, his burn list. So.
Yeah. And one of the things we were noting when we were looking at these decks in between rounds, Mike Wallio has no cards for combo.
Just no cards in no Ensnaring Bridge, no Pyrostatic Pillar.
He's got a pair of Surgical Extractions, which we saw when
I mean, Surgical isn't really that good in Burn. Like, the difference between Burn and a lot of other decks is a lot of these blue decks, you can counter a spell on the stack and then Surgical the rest of the copies.
Yeah.
The only way you can really utilize Surgical in a Burn deck versus Sneak and Show is if they cast Intuition specifically.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that was one of the things that Miles and I were talking about just briefly, and it's not one of those cards where you can bring in. I think the one thing that Mike has done is his sideboard is purely built to take on elves.
That's certainly something I was wondering if we'd see. I feel like people might potentially over metagame for an opponent because you got to realize even if they're known for one deck, they still have to bring 3 decks.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
If you over metagame for one, sure, you'll beat them on their namesake deck, but like, how are the other matchups going to go?
Yeah. Dan looks like he has Intuition, Cunning Wish, 2 Flooded, Boseiju, and a Ponder. And that Boseiju could potentially prove as a hindrance for Dan as it is right now. Boseiju, of course, costing 2 life when you tap for it.
Yeah, it could definitely become a liability. The fact it comes into play tapped is also a huge cost.
Yeah.
I personally automatically replace every single deck list that has Boseiju in it with a basic land. Like, just 1-for-1 replacement, guaranteed. I just can't stand that card.
It was really only good when Miracles was at its prominence.
Yeah,
like,
it's only good versus specific decks in specific scenarios.
Yeah.
Which is just not worth the liability of always being tapped. And then life is like a real resource, especially in these decks that like can't provide defense. Like, if your opponent plays a creature, it deals X damage every turn until the game ends, and like you can't really block them, so paying 2, 4, 6 life even off of one of these lands is just a massive cost.
Yeah, on top of the fetches and the fact that Burn is actually trying to control your life total. It looks like Dan is already around 16 life, and he's going to go ahead and see a tap 2 from Mike. I'm thinking we're seeing Eidolon of the Great Revel.
Yeah, and Eidolon really taxes the Omni strategy out of Sneak and Show. It doesn't really interact with the sneak attack side, so sometimes you can just be like, here's a sneak attack, here's an Emrakul, you're dead. Which is really, really different than going, here's a sneak, or here's a show and tell, here's an Omni, here's 3 cantrips, here's a kill. You know, it's a really different story.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, and I think Dan's going to go ahead and drop a force.
You know what? Dan's been really aggressive about forcing Michael's threats from Michael's Daniel's been really aggressive about forcing Michael's threats really proactively. Like Death Ray Shamans, Gurmag Anglers, Ninja the Deep Hours. Just really going on.
We saw him force a Delver sequence as well. So he's really been aggro about trying to force that.
To me, that says that Dan is trying to protect his life total. He thinks that he's going to be able to tax Michael out of resources, and if he's able to do that, then using these Force of Will potentially makes it so he draws more cards in the long game and actually kind of re-equalizes the card disadvantage you lose by casting a Force of Will and pitching a blue card.
Yeah.
That being said, I feel like Sneaky Show is a deck that says, okay, you played a threat, that now just reduces the number of turns that I have to go off by X.
Right.
And we actually saw that occur. He got into a counterspell war over a threat and then didn't have a Force of Will to protect his combo to actually win the game.
Right,
And if he had won the game, the life total is no longer as relevant.
Right. So it's certainly one of those positions where you have to kind of balance, your resources. Obviously, your life total is a resource as long as you're above 0.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only marker that you're worried about.
Yeah, you really got to ride that lightning. We got a Lava Spike coming down for Michael Wallio going straight at Dan's head. Dan's at 11 now, going down to 8 off this Lava Spike.
Yeah, Mike is really applying the pressure. I think one of the things that's kind of difficult about, and we see an intuition getting popped for Daniel Nguyen. It looks like he's going to go ahead and play... He's going for show and tells. I think he has an Omni in hand, but not a lot of else going on. So it'll be on Dan to try to pin together a win here, and it's going to be tough. Mike is going to fire a bolt. This is going to be a 4-point bolt, as that is the Judge Foil Lightning Bolt.
Oh yeah, it deals 1 foil damage in addition to the regular 3 damage that the Lightning Bolt does. So show and tell is now in hand for Dan, but. Is that going to be enough? Like, he can put Omni into play, but he doesn't actually have any cantrips to follow this up, so he doesn't have a way to get into his deck and unlock any of these wins.
Dan saying, "Oh my God," and Miles saying, "God cannot help you here."
God, there is no God.
Jeez.
I'm gonna rip that Band-Aid off now.
Oh boy. Dan,
draw for the Dan. He needs to he finds a land. And when you can cast spells without paying their mana cost, lands are bad draws.
Yeah, they're not so great, but an Omni coming into play.
An Omni. There's a
and a Vortex! Oh my goodness.
What have I done?
Wow, and the Vortex could potentially call this a day. It's going to be it's going to deal 2. Mike is looking for a burn spell.
One burn
a 3-point
burn spell. One burn spell is lethal here.
This is insane. And just... Mike looks like he found it.
Even Emrakul isn't lethal here.
Chain Lightning,
Force of Will
coming down. That is real. Yeah, that totally happens here.
Let's see. He's got 1 draw step, basically. Potentially 2 here. Down to
2.
3. Finds another force. That's basically another draw step.
Yeah,
that's another draw step, effectively.
He's riding the edge right here. Mike's going to go to 13. Top deck here. 2 damage, 1 damage. Emrakul!
Oh my god,
it's not because the extra turn! Oh my god!
Vortex trigger on the upkeep.
Will trigger on the next turn, and that is absolutely outrageous. I have never seen anything like this before. The extra turn kills Daniel Nguyen. Unbelievable.
Oh no.
Unbelievable. That is absolutely the most insane thing I've ever seen. He drew what has to be the win, and just... unreal.
There's
Vortex.
No draw. There's no draw that gets him out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Emrakul feels nice, but it's not. It's not enough. We got to force a will for this Rift Bolt, but Dan's dead on the upkeep. He's not happy about that one.
It's got to be Cunning Wish for.
It's got to be kill on the main phase. Well, it's got to be the Cunning Wish for Firemind's Foresight combo. It's good. That's the only out there.
Yeah, Cunning Wish for Firemind's. That was
even Gristlebrand. Here's my Gristlebrand. Your turn.
Yeah, that was super rough and a tough one. That was a tough blow for Dan. Jeez.
He's not happy about that. He's recovered though. I've been kind of watching his body language in the last 45 seconds, and he definitely hit a low there right after that occurred. But he's back. He's back to normal.
Yeah,
he's back to his old self.
Yeah, he's ready to get in there and sling and just try to make sure everything is as fine as it can be, and he's tuned up and ready to rock.
And Sean, to answer your question about them over metagaming, they definitely know what decks the other person is playing, but I don't think that card constraints are really an issue for us. We have so many people here that own decks that are willing to spot loan cards. In fact, this Sneak and Show deck is Brian Bennett, who is sitting behind Dan Nguyen. So
yeah,
that was insane.
That was insane. That was unreal. Because it was like the out that you think is an out.
One card earlier is
and it's game, but just pretty insane. Jeez, that trigger on the upkeep. And what's even crazier is that when Emrakul attacks, that vortex would go away.
Yeah.
But the
it
trigger
needs
happens
vortex.
before the combat step, so
Upkeep before damage,
just
yeah.
a rough one.
And so Michael's one game away here from winning the series.
Yeah. He's one game away playing Burn versus Omni. And I think the other issue is that Mike, Dan probably has cards. He potentially has cards that could help him in this matchup. We know that
Not
Mike
really.
doesn't.
I mean, it's a Wishboard deck. It does,
that's
I don't
right.
really feel like Sneak and Show improves postboard versus Burn.
Right, because they're going to have Blood Moons and
And Michael's going to be boarding out, Searing Blazers. He's going to be boarding out these cards that he literally can't cast this game.
True, yeah. So he's going to be going in for, more effective cards like I guess Exquisite Firecraft, potentially a card he can bring in.
It's at least castable.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think that's
the
main
maybe
thing.
Smash to Smithereens. Maybe
And I mean,
probably
Surgical,
not.
like we said, it's not great, but it at least counters
A line.
intuition. You know what I mean? It at least
Yeah.
blanks that line, which is better
Yeah.
than nothing. But I mean, besides that, there's really no cards here that do anything.
Oh, here Dan has the hand.
The turn one.
Dan has the hand.
Here's a Gristly.
Dan has the hand.
So one of
oh my goodness! And it just like that, it's going to game 3.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what you can expect. Like this is not a good matchup for
Yeah,
Burn.
this
Even
is
though
not
we
a good
saw
one.
a big upset there that
Yeah.
put Dan on the ropes. I mean, this is still a bad matchup for Burn.
Yeah.
This is still what the Sneak and Show deck is trying
Yeah.
to do. And if Dan can do this again, he's one match away from victory.
Yeah. So yeah, he needs to. Dan, I mean, obviously, this is one of those decks that he can do it. He can put together some pretty quick plays and pretty quick hands, and that is exactly just where you want to be. A turn 1 Gristlebrand. I mean, there's nothing that Mike can do about it. All you can do is just look at his position, and be like, yeah, Gristlebrand's in play. That card's good.
Yeah. Oh, you attacked me once. That's 2 Fire Blasts.
Yeah.
That's
That's just an insane amount of cards that I'll never be able to get down.
and like Dan can pay 7 life to draw 7 cards here, but I think 7 life is actually
just way better.
it's a
yeah.
better resource than
Yeah.
the cards. I mean, once you already have the big scary monster in play, you don't need any more cards to put
Yeah.
it into play. This is already lethal in a couple turns.
If Mike points like a bolt and a fire blast at Grizz, you might draw and force. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because your opponent's wasting 2 lands and an additional burn spell
Exactly,
to go after your
yeah.
creature. Yeah, Dan will probably just draw and force. But
I mean, that's a really different scenario, though. I mean,
Yeah,
Michael's
it's
on the
way
ropes
different,
here.
yeah.
He doesn't really have a way out of this. There's
Yeah.
not really a way for him to deal the kind of damage required to be 2 Gristlebrand swings in the same game.
yeah, just a crazy spot to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Mike is just kind of doing one of those resets. He just won an unfavorable game 1.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, okay, back to reality. Here's what the matchup is really all about. Okay.
Yeah.
He's going for this Chain Lightning Fire Blast play, and I think that this is his best line.
And I mean, Dan's at a pretty safe life. No, it's going upstairs.
Oh, wow.
Down to 14, and I mean, that's not going to be enough.
Yeah, I mean, he
because
goes to
now it's
21 again. Yeah, now he's 21 again.
Now
Yeah.
it's 21,
Yeah,
which
okay,
is the
21.
same place we were at last turn.
Exactly.
We managed to stem the tide, but
Yeah.
Michael only has so many more turns that he can use his own life total as a resource versus Crystal Brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dan's going to draw
Trigger,
one card.
And Emrakul on top. Wow.
He's only 10 mana short of casting that Emrakul here.
Yeah, I mean, he can he can certainly do it with enough Lotus Petals and whatnot.
We got 3
And
mana
this
for
looks like a
Michael here.
vortex. And it's a
The
Firecraft.
Firecraft.
Oh, but he shows it. I don't think you show it.
It doesn't
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it really doesn't.
I mean, I would have scooped up this game when I saw the turn on Gristlebrand. I'm like, we don't need to play this out.
yeah.
It's not even going to be that engaging for the audiences. It's not going to be last game. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah,
That game was
absolutely.
out of
Yeah.
control. That is the game that we want to stream. This is not. This is.
Yeah, this is just
textbook. This is a textbook game.
I think this is good for good for Dan to be able to ride out that card though, because now it allows him to reset.
Yeah.
Like if he just wins and he gets shocked into game 3, round 3, then he might just feel the drain of how crazy the game 1 was.
Yeah, it's
and
so
so actually,
funny.
that insta scoop might be like a kind of a psychological hit, you know, because it doesn't allow your opponent to kind of ride out victory too.
When I scoop in situations like that I know I'm going to lose this game and I'm up a game,
Yeah.
it's saying that I understand the resources that I'm playing with, and the
Yeah.
resources in this game aren't relevant anymore.
Yeah,
That being
exactly.
said, the resources that are things like the clock, things like you said, mental tempo are going to be
Yeah.
really, really important. And when I make that decision, I'm dictating when the game ends. I'm not letting my opponent dictate.
Yeah.
Even though they're
Yeah.
winning the game, I'm the one who chooses when the game ends.
Yeah.
And that definitely, there's certainly a mental kind of empowerment aspect to that. There's also a mental dominance aspect to
Yeah.
that I think you're definitely really heads up on bringing up right now.
Yeah, it's cool and it's interesting because it's certainly like it's mental warfare when it comes to figuring out how to combat these matchups and these decks. Dan on the keep. Looks like he's got a nice fan of lands and spells. Ponder, Emrakul, Grizz, Petal. I think he's waiting for Flooded, and Dan's just gonna be looking for a nice combo piece. We see a crack, Surgical, Chain, Grim Lavamancer, Fetch Land for Mike. Island, and Dan's gonna go digging here. The Ponder's fired off straight away.
Take a quick peek in the pond. We got the Merfolk Ponder here.
Yeah.
And this is, of course, Brian Bennett's deck, who's sitting behind.
Yeah.
And I always like to see that.
Yeah, he's got the Intuition in hand for Dan, and I think it's actually really powerful because it's going to just be a 2-turn show and tell play. Although the 1 card in hand for Mike, Surgical.
He has the Surgical, and like we mentioned,
it's going to be crazy.
Surgical is not super relevant in this matchup, but the one thing that it does do is that it counters Intuition. That being said, we're going to see the Surgical on the Ponder, and Dan drew a Ponder off that Ponder.
That's so insane.
Oof, Dan's not happy about that.
That's so insane. But the writing's here. You can see it from Mike Wallio.
He's fine with this. He's fine with this.
He's totally fine.
Because what this means is that there's not a Surgical extraction for this Intuition.
Yeah.
And that's honestly way more important.
Yeah. If I'm Mike, I'm thinking, geez. And if I'm Dan, I'm thinking maybe I just dodged a bullet.
He's like, oh man, I can't believe my opponent just got baited. I'm fine losing this Ponder as part of the retribution for that, but that was huge. You don't... Like, what a lot of people have issues realizing is that while Michael did just trade 1 for 1 there, 1 card in Michael's hand for 1 card in Daniel's hand, Michael traded a premier sideboard card. Like, the only cards he really gets to use to interact with Dan's deck to a cantrip that Dan plays 4 of that replaces itself on cast. It's not really these huge backbone parts of the deck.
Yeah.
It certainly increases the smoothness and reduces the fragility of the deck, but it's not how the deck wins.
Yeah.
And it's really important you line up your sideboard cards in a way that you don't have this happen. You really want to make sure that you're maximizing the equity you can get out of these sideboard cards.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I know that I think that Dan's deck only plays 1 copy of Intuition anyways. So I think it's a card that you can find. I don't think it plays more than 1. Or maybe a 2. I know it plays 1 on the board for sure when you can Cunning Wish for. So so the count.
Most of the cards in the deck are 3 of, so you can Intuition for them, and I feel if you're gonna architect your like the quantity of cards based on that, you're gonna gate based on how many you have in the deck, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like you're not gonna do that for a card you have a 1 of.
Yeah,
potentially. It makes a lot more sense to do it for a card you have a 3 of.
Potentially. And it looks like, Mike just sees he's going to go as fast as he possibly can.
We got a quick Lavamancer activation and an Intuition from Dan. I imagine this is going to be, 3 toes.
Triple shows, EOT. Dan's going to untap and just slam, I think.
He's got a Gristlebrand, and I think he's got an Emrakul as well, right?
Yeah. So he's got both sides of the puzzle here. He actually main phased that. And I think that there's really no difference here. Mike doesn't really play on the stack.
You lose to the same cards no matter what.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. There's no change in how these cards interact by doing it at a different priority speed.
Mike is going to need to figure out how to deal a whole lot of damage really fast. He's got an Eidolon in hand. He's got a Grim in play. There's 15 damage to deal. Mike needs the Bolt Bolt Fire Blast +6 somewhere. And I don't know where that 6 comes from. But,
good question.
Yeah, I mean, leave it to a guy like Mike Wallio to figure it out.
He is at 16, and that could be 1 Annihilator attack from Emrakul.
Yeah.
Playing the land and then bolting for the last 3 damage.
I mean, yeah.
But like we said, we need +6, not +3. So we got to find that remainder. Man, math's hard.
Yeah, it really is. That's the reason why, and we're seeing...
We're going to see a happen. Eidolon coming down.
Eidolon potentially can protect while the 4th show drawn for Dan Nguyen here. He's going to go ahead and tap. Lotus Petal taking 2. Wait.
It's a City of Traders. Oh, trigger off the Eidolon. Yeah. Oh, no. Dan's actually going to go down to 10 here into that Eidolon.
Wow, that actually could be the difference here.
Paying for that price, for sure.
Because now, Lightning Bolt, Fire Blast is game.
We said +6 was needed. This was 4.
Yeah.
And we found out where the other 3 are, and that's from 1 attack for a Emrakul plus a land Lightning Bolt.
So, Mike... has a chance. Well, and to be honest, I mean, there's a lot of damage on board, so even the gain 7 might not be.
Yeah, this is a Gristlebrand, so we need to find 17 damage now, but we're not losing all our permanents, which changes the clock considerably.
Okay, Mike untaps and draws. Does he have 10 in hand?
Yeah, I wonder if Emrakul or Gristlebrand is the right card to put into play there. I don't play enough Sneak and Show to really know the answer to that
Rift
question.
Bolt. Wow. So maybe it was Gristlebrand was correct.
Yeah, because the Eidolon would trigger off the Rift Bolt and deal 2 damage to Michael. Oh, and it wouldn't be in play. It wouldn't be in play.
Yeah, it would be dead. Yeah, that's the reason why. You know, and all so maybe it was correct. It's kind of weird. It's a
weird question.
It's these really thin lines that could potentially. I mean, Mike also has to figure out how to deal 7, right?
Yeah, and so Michael Wallio is sitting on double Chain Lightning Price of Progress, and Daniel is sitting on a Gristlebrand Just Connected, which is never where you want to be sitting as a burn player. That does not sound good.
Show and Tell.
We've got the backup Show and Tell. This is one that's going to be putting in Emrakul.
Wow.
And I think the writing might be on the wall here for Dan. I mean, I think this is game.
I think it's going to be an end-of-turn Lavamancer activation. We'll have to see. I mean, I've seen crazy things happen. I've seen Mike Wallio pull rabbits out of hats. So, I mean, this is 10 again. We're right back into where we were. Mike does get to attack Dan, potentially down to 9 at least.
I mean, sure.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that, like, 4 cards in hand can be Bolt, Fire Blast. Like,
it can.
Yeah, those are.
Yeah, Bolt, Fire Blast. You can just barely cast it. Because he's at 7. Oh, he can't fetch, though. Oh, he doesn't need to, though.
Fetch here. 6.
Fetch blocks him from Bolt, Fire Blast.
Yeah.
That much.
Well, no, because Fire Blast doesn't deal you 2.
Oh, yeah, good point.
So, but he does have Price for 2.
Yeah, he has Price for 2 here and Grim Lavamancer activation for another 2. So that puts Dan down to 6. Leaves him with 1 land up, and he's got a Chain Lightning to put him to 3, but I think he's just 1 spell off here. I think he's just one spell too slow.
Here's the real question. When Dan plays a land, the trigger happens when the land comes into play, right? So
and it's not an ability. You can respond
to the trigger. So I think it would be really interesting if Dan...
He puts a non-basic.
Yeah.
Like a Volcanic or something like that.
Chain Lightning.
We're going to see a Chain Lightning go upstairs, put Dan down to 7. What an interesting line. I wonder how often...
Oh, you know what, dude? If he plays Price of Progress and has Fire Blast here...
He's got Fire Blast, though, right? He's got double Chain Lightning Price of Progress? This isn't going to be enough. This does lock Dan from playing spells.
Dan says, don't slow roll me. I think that's what he said to him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dan, like, he's only dead here to a spell getting casted.
Block. Smush.
Snap block. Yeah, and then we're going to see an activation.
Yeah, all right. So close, Price.
Yeah.
And not Force. If it was Force, it would be crazy. That would be it. But Dan squeaking it out, and guess what? He gets to go to the true weapon.
Yeah.
The true weapon.
He's got his ace in the hole, in his back pocket, burning up his seat all night.
And it's crazy because both players are going to their best decks. This is how we wanted it to end. We wanted ace in the hole Mike Wallio, the burn player, the red mage, the crimson mage. He's bringing the flaming sword.
Yeah, where's Crimson Viper? Let me hear him. A little quick shout out in chat.
Absolutely. That would be awesome. But on the opposite side, we got Daniel Nguyen. He's bringing out the Lord of the Leaves. The King of the Woods.
Elaborate Daniel Nguyen over here.
Oh my goodness. And you couldn't have drawn it up any better. Elves.
I just hope all of these always go to 5 matches every time.
Oh, it's so good, right? It's the best way to write it up. It's the best story.
So high.
It's
so much higher.
It's the best story, and if you're both players, you're just glad that you're able to kind of get to your comfort zone. And if you're Mike, you're thinking, okay, he's got one more deck. What's it going to be? It's got to be Elves.
Gotta be.
And if you're Dan, you're just thinking like, do I got tech for this matchup? Do I got tech?
Yeah.
And
does he have the life gain tools?
You know what? He does.
I'm sure
he's got some crazy piece.
This is the thing. Both of these players, when they over metagamed for each other, these are the decks they were over metagaming against.
Yeah.
So here's really where we're going to see the stakes at their highest and the sideboard cards with their most impact.
Yeah.
And so I think that, as I said earlier, it's kind of a trap to over get metagame for your opponent. But this is the scenario you do it for. Round 5, both players with their decks on the line.
Yeah.
If you have 10 sideboard cards for your opponent's primary deck and they have 2, you're in a huge lead in terms of favorability.
So we already know that Mike Wallio, he's got access to Searing Bloods, Volcanic Fallout, and Pyroclasm. Daniel Nguyen, I know this for a fact. In his board, he has a copy of Elder Scale Worm.
Oh my goodness. Is he going to like green sensitive?
No, just
natural order?
Natty orders.
Natty order.
Boom.
Bada bing.
Life totals. They're the same.
Yeah. What are life totals?
Yeah, just insane amounts of games. I mean, this is exactly what we wanted. We wanted some really close matches. Wow, we saw an 8 versus a 10. The die roll is going to matter.
The die roll is close, yeah. I mean, these are certainly decks that are very die roll dependent, that's for sure.
Oh my god. And Dan's gonna feel like he's gonna have free reign, and it's steel versus steel here.
Yeah, they really got to be testing their metal. The
and
abacus is coming out.
The abacus.
The handshake is being extended. We have real magic here for you guys at home.
This is reminiscent of a match you'd see in top 8. This is reminiscent that you have a match you'd see at your. These guys are just such battlers.
These are the guys you expect to see in the top.
Oh yeah, on their respective decks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I'm in the top 8 now. The stakes have been raised. Now I'm going to be playing against the cream of the crop, and this is who you sit down against.
I'm glad Mike just doesn't go for 3 decks. The elves can't be. Yeah, that's true, Tim.
I think
that's
it's risky
true.
to do that because if you get a bad hand and you lose one of those, now you're just playing 3 bad decks. Versus
other
who the hell
decks.
knows?
Yeah.
And I think it's very risky to over metagame in a scenario like that. I think that there are merits to doing it, and I think that it's certainly a decision that you have to make. But I'm saying that it's a risky one, and I personally, especially in Legacy, I hate making risky decisions. I try and play as conservatively as possible, as safely as possible.
Yes.
Always looking for the worst case scenario, and so doing things like triple metagaming for one deck is things that are like alarm bells are going off in my head. Like this is a huge risk. There's a huge liability. Do you want this to be the reason you lose this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where you'd love to play. You want to play safe within the confines of the decisions that you can make. If you can make another decision that wins you the game, you'd love to be able to make that.
So we have 2/2s for 1 mana on both sides of the board here. Of course, one has haste and one doesn't untap during its controller's untap.
One is more of like a mana source, which is kind of interesting. We have a Swift Spear joining the battlefield and attack from 2.
Tessier joining the battlefield.
Oh, absolutely. We've got the 3-headed dragon, the Cerberus, if you will. But this is round 5.
They're playing their decks.
Round 5. This is the Crimson Mage versus the Emerald Mage.
Unbelievable.
It's pretty insane. This is a matchup you would see in top 8 for the championship of Legacy 1K of the Invitational, perhaps.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, these guys are playing for a lot of pride. So.
Yeah, absolutely. 100 points. In fact,
here's Birchlore Rangers for Dan Nguyen.
Wow. And so Dan actually he could have blocked with the Nettle Sentinel, declined to. I guess the idea is that Birchlore is, with Birchlore, Nettle Sentinel is worth a lot more,
right?
Potentially,
for sure.
And I don't know if Dan has another land in his hand. He does. He has he's got that's a sweet unglued forest. Look at that white border.
Amazing. And that's the thing is, I think against the burn matchup, he knows that he's going to lose a lot of his guys to burn spells, and if he starts losing them to blocks here, I think that plays into Michael's control plan.
Yeah.
He needs to control the game and prevent Dan from getting to a critical mass of elves, and there's a lightning bolt in response to this Heritage Druid. Birchlore Ranger down.
Yeah, Birchlore down, 1 floating, and what's interesting is that if another elf joins the battlefield, he's going to be able to replace this Birchlore activation. It's going to be a Nettle Sentinel for Dan, and it's going to untap his other Nettle Sentinel. So Dan potentially could go somewhere close to bananas, and a Fire Blast coming down. Just an absolute, the most aggro play you can make. Mike reaching for it.
Wow, what a last-ditch effort for Mike. He did not want to see Dan start to gain that critical mass of elves, and he did have a backup land in hand already. There was an Eidolon off the top for him. And there goes a Wooded Foothills.
There's there's a mountain already being replaced by Mike Wallio. He's got a spike coming down from the hand.
Oh my. This Monastery Swift Spear is going to be a 2/3 and impossible for these. He could double block.
Trigger, there's a Rex Sage. That's not the most exciting card.
Good against that upcoming Eidolon.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it hits the board, but
absolutely. But will be painful. Will cost 2 potentially. So damage coming here. Dan electing to block and taking the Swift Spear.
Wow, I kind of like a double block on the Swift Spear though.
Just gang up.
Yeah, instead of taking down just the Goblin guy. And here's a swing from
Dan
the Nettle
cracking
Sentinel.
back, showing that he can't be pushed around, and there's an Elvish Visionary. Vision is scary. A top deck draw.
Glimpse of Nature off the top for Dan Nguyen. Perfect draw.
That was a piece of heat. Piece of heat.
He wants to go for it. He's got Queen Ranger in hand.
Yeah, he can make a good amount of mana. He can make a good amount of elf plays. So he has the potential to actually just accelerate a little bit. And he's a cradle away, an elf chain away.
Get this.
What's this?
Searing Blaze off the top from Mike Wallio. No second red mana, but oh my. That is
hot.
Just straight fire.
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 Oh my goodness.
Heat. in the kitchen.
Dryad Arbor is the fetch for Dan. Here's a draw. Pendelhaven. Good draw.
Wow. Pendelhaven, a fantastic card. Oh my goodness.
Glimpse.
There's
Let's go
the
for
trigger.
it. Let's go
Boom.
for it. Quirion Ranger.
Bing, bing.
Oh.
No, he played a land, though.
Guys.
Did he play a land?
No, he hasn't played a land.
Hasn't played a land.
Guy's Cradle's eligible.
Oh, baby.
We could see just a Rex Sage for target nothing.
Yeah, Rex Sage
Just to
keep the juices flowing.
Yeah.
Dan's the master. He understands all this. 4 floating, 1 floating.
There's the Rex Sage.
Draw another elf.
1 green floating. Oh, it's a land off the top.
Boy.
Not what he's looking for. Pendelhaven stuck in hand along with that fetch land.
Can't keep the train rolling. That being said, he does have a pretty promising board. He's got 5 elves in play.
Swing for 2. That could be a tapped Nettle Sentinel next turn too. If he doesn't top deck something.
Gazban Ogre really just rumbling in for a lot.
Oh, here's the Monastery Swiftspear just going in fearlessly.
Mike getting a little feisty, saying, "Hey, do I have the prowess trigger or
this
not?"
This is a pure bluff.
Purest...
Mike does not have an instant to play.
Oh
my goodness! Untap with the Quirion Ranger, double block, Rex Sage. Here comes the Rift Bolt on suspend. He's going to be able to take down something
and
next
Dan
turn, but
looks
Dan
like
went.
he untaps. He is in control of the top deck. That is a crop roadie.
Crop rotation. Crop rotation, a reasonable card in case Mike were to ever top deck a Price of Progress with the mana to cast it.
Oh, yeah.
And here comes a big swing. Swing for 5, potentially 6.
Yeah, with that Pendelhaven locked in back, ready to go, we got Holy Strength. Holy Strength Manland right there. Bang.
That is a big time swing. 3 damage straight
to the
Dan
face.
Wayne. Going down to 6. No land for Mike Wallio. Top deck Eidolon.
Crop rotation. It's
going
to get another. It's going to get. It's it. That's it. That's all she wrote. That's going to go ahead and grab a Dryad Arbor. Wow.
Little does Dan know he has nothing to fear. He's probably going to swing for it anyway for the win.
Yeah, 1, 2.
That Holy Strength.
Yeah.
Pendelhaven.
Oh, baby. Pendelhaven.
Wow. Talk about a Legends card, baby.
Yeah. That's a sweet one.
Doesn't
Boom.
matter. Here comes a
Wax
swing for
the beatdown plan. Pendelhaven 2.
1,
Boom.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, down to 1.
Down to 1. Okay.
That wasn't it. That wasn't the end.
You know what's insane? If Mike top decks
okay, there's a
mountain.
There's a scoop from Mike.
Price of Progress. It was a mountain away from being the opposite way.
Big time.
What crazy draw.
Great game.
Whoa.
Dan Nguyen takes game number 1 over Mike Wallio in this, our final match of our showdown. Folks, you've been watching it all night long. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're watching live Legacy action from Wallio Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
We're in match number 5, the final match.
We've been streaming live since 7 o'clock this evening, and we were just so excited to bring you guys 5 rounds of hard-hitting Legacy action between these 2 titans of the format. And of course, next month, we've got two more lined up. We've got Miles Wallio versus Josh Monks.
Make sure you hit that follow button so you know when we go live for our next Seattle Showdown. This is Michael Tessier and Jordan Isaka in the booth, also joined by Miles Wallio and Jeremy Edwards. Down there, as you can see, our 2 competitors are Dan Nguyen and Mike Wallio going to game number 2 of this, our 5th and final match of the Showdown. We've got our faithful spotters, Josh Monks and Brian Bennett.
Chilling out. Looks like they're having a good time. They're kind of gesturing back and forth. I think Brian looks a little... Oh, yeah. We've got Mike... Sorry, Dan is trying to, display all the cards just nice and easily for Brian Bennett. And Brian just looks confused. His head is just like, what is that?
Look at that.
Look at that Elder Scale worm.
My Elder Scale
with
worm.
a black border. Yeah.
Now here's the thing. Elder Scale Worm clearly a made a call for Dan, knowing that Mike Wallio would show with Burn. Elder Scale Worm is not a card that's commonly put in elves these days. It used to be about 4 or 5 years ago. Very common. Not because Rug Delver has a hard time beating it, right?
Yeah.
Not so much anymore.
It's a big dog.
Also is a nice card when they have Merit Lodge.
Oh. That's a spicy meatball. That's a spicy meatball. Dan with the war face, the war paint. He is ready to slay a nerd.
He is locked in. He knew. He said at the beginning of the whole showdown tonight.
Yeah.
He said, "Wow, I can't believe you played your deck, being Burn, saying to Mike Wallio, as your first deck. I thought it would be your anchor deck, referring to, of course, like the anchor in a relay race.
Yeah.
And Dan specifically choosing elves to be his closer, his Mariano Rivera, his finisher.
Yeah.
He's bringing it in.
The Lord of the Save. To save the day.
He's got a cutter. This guy's got a cutter.
It's gonna slice through. Yeah, it's gonna slice through any sort of bat or wooden stick that is put out by Miles Wallio. Although, to be fair, Mike Wallio is putting out a stick that's on fire.
It's literally engulfed in flames.
Yeah, and that stick is on fire and it's burning up the forest. Although it didn't get there quite right in game 1. We've got a couple of cards brought in from Dan. Decays and Wallio. And the cards that are brought in for Mike Wallio, he's got Searing Bloods. He's got some mean stuff. Searing Bloods, Volcanic Fallout, Pyroclasm. And 2 copies of Grafdigger's Cage.
Wow.
If you want to talk about cards that he had ready, he was ready for this match.
Mike Wallio was not messing around in his sideboard for elves. And we're taking a look at our opening 7 here. Dan, when I saw Abrupt Decay in the window there, Wirewood Symbiote among the cards. There's a turn 1 Grafdigger's Cage out of Mike Wallio. Oh my
goodness. And you know what I also see in the grip for Dan? Scavenging Ooze. Oh my goodness. If a card ever said gain 1 life, you know that's going straight in the pocket and coming straight onto the battlefield.
Mike Wallio with the fetch. Let's see what his turn 2 play is. He had to delay his turn 1 play.
Correct.
Playing that Grafdigger's Cage out. And here's a Monastery Swiftspear.
A monetary Swiftspear. And
Follow
a Chain Lightning.
Heritage Druid in the bin.
And that could be another card that Dan could just eat away. There's an attack for 2, a little shock, a little jab.
Now, are you waiting to play your Scavenging Ooze for it to be a total haymaker? Where you can grow it out of bolt range?
Yeah, I think you want to be able to eat 2 things when it comes down. You really want to be able to just make it so it can't be lightning bolted.
Got it, yeah.
You also just really want to cradle.
Yeah, and I don't think Dan has access to... He can keep enough dudes in play on top of that. He might have to run out. But
take a look at the hand of Mike Wallio. He's got another Swiftspear and a Bolt.
Yeah, and there's a
Wirewood
Symbiote and a... What is that? Dryad Arbor, yeah.
A land, the draw from Mike Wallio. Not what he's looking for. Just a bolt in hand. Swing with these 2 Swiftspears, no block, and he's going to bolt probably this Dryad Arbor. There it goes.
Yep, and it looks like it's going to be a +2/+2. So 4 damage coming across, and I think Dan is going to go ahead and rear up. He's at 13 life. There's 1 card in hand for Mike Wallio.
Just a bolt, just a Scalding Tarn in hand for Mike Wallio. Nothing else.
Nothing
no
too
action.
exciting.
There's a Forest from Dan fetching around Price of Progress. Though he does have Abrupt Decay in hand, so he's got a Bayou in hand as well.
Yeah.
But he has to set him.
Could be a little tense. I think he's running it out. Oh, he decides not to. I think
Elvish
this is
Visionary.
Oh wow,
Best
Visionary.
Friends Forever duo.
Absolutely, he's going to go ahead and have the draw triggers aplenty and be able to block and fog one of the attacks.
And that's an Abrupt Decay off the top.
Fetch. Now and Mike Wallio's going to go ahead and trigger potentially Searing Blaze, the landfall trigger for Searing Blaze.
If he can top deck it here, big time draw.
That would be a huge draw. Searing Blaze and or Searing Blood would come down for 7.
Now, double Abrupt Decay from Dan Nguyen is a perfect answer to Mike Wallio's 2 dudes in play.
Yeah.
Are you just trotting them out turn after turn? If you're Dan?
I think it depends on what your life total's at.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're low, it's gonna be emergency sub 25% Pokemon sound sort of thing.
Yeah. So Dan went ahead and blocked 1 Swiftspear before damage, returned it to hand using Wirewood Symbiote.
I think Wallio has a Tarn or Bloodstained Mire in hand.
Oh my!
And just so many lands,
Unlucky.
getting a
2
little
lands in
flooded.
Hand. And now he didn't play 1 out in order to do that Searing Blaze trick and plus the thinning.
Yeah.
Now here's the Heritage Druid in play for Dan Nguyen. No replay on the Elvish Visionary quite yet.
Not yet, and I think he is kind of tanking and thinking about what his next line is going to be.
Right, it could be Abrupt Decay, it could be that Elvish Visionary.
Yeah, I think he's lining up.
Decay.
I think he's lining up for the Decay here.
Yeah,
and he's going to feel pretty good about it too, especially if Wallio's told drawing another card.
Eidolon off the top.
Wow, and that could be huge. While the Decay is going to go ahead and target, although I think Dan's going to go ahead and burn the Decay.
Oh man,
yeah,
there it goes.
Okay, so one goes, and now he's gonna have Eidolon here, the grizzly bear himself.
Lucky for Dan, got that second abrupt decay.
Yeah.
Dan Nguyen in the driver's seat now.
Pretty solid play. Do you see how Dan just confidently threw that card across his hand? He's ready to rip. He knows what's up.
Doesn't matter what it is.
Decay comes down.
Verdant
Fetch land
Catacombs
here.
getting fetched.
What do you think comes? I'm thinking it's the Scavenging Ooze. I think
so?
I think the graveyard is juicy enough. It's got enough meat in the graveyard where we can just slam that sucker.
Sure. Do you think he's happy for it to eat a bolt next turn? If there is one off the top.
I mean, he's not, but I think he's running it. Oh, never mind. He's going to go ahead and just draw a card.
Keep going with that Best Friends Forever Club.
Absolutely.
Because then you can activate twice.
Yeah.
Dan Nguyen, the father of the book, the author himself.
He's sitting on the edge of victory right here. A chain lightning coming down, and Dan immediately tanks.
That Wirewood Symbiote has done a lot of damage in this game, and now it's finally hitting the bin. Mike Wallio with that sweet draw.
And actually, Dan throwing the block in front, and I think you are absolutely right, Jeremy Edwards. The ooze is going to come down, and that is going to... Oh, my goodness.
Ooze.
If I ever thought about...
Eat your dude.
Oh, my goodness.
Gain 1.
Eat your other dude. Gain 1.
+2 life. +2, +2.
A 4/4 is a problem.
Problematic.
If there are 4/4s on the battlefield, you got problems.
If you gain 2 life,
you got problems.
If you got only lands in your hand,
you got lands in your hand.
Let's see if Mike can pull this out. Now, what kind of draws does Mike need to see here in order to make this happen?
He's gonna need
game 3.
He's gonna need fire. He's gonna need fire blasts. He's gonna need like running fire blasts, or he's gonna need vortex.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Vortex is possible,
Right.
but fire blast is the go-to. Fire blast would be the best draw.
So just fire
Top
blast
deck.
this Scavenging Ooze.
There's a battle.
It's a Searing Blaze off the top.
Oh well, what the heck? He didn't.
Did he block?
No. Well, the thing is, yeah, he decided
No block.
he decides against it.
Good choice.
Yeah.
There's a Deathrite Shaman from Dan
Shaman
Nguyen
coming
and a follow-up
down.
Heritage Druid.
And a Druid.
The dudes are hitting the battlefield.
The boys are back in town.
The boys are back.
The boys are back. In town again.
Searing Blaze.
Ooh, and 3. I mean, like, honestly, taking a few pieces of damage right here, taking a few chips off of Dan is Mike, and he, that Scavenging Ooze is really just going to help him out. It's going to keep him above the waterline here.
Dan is double pumping, gain 2 with Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah.
Gonna net take 1 off of that Searing Blaze.
Wallio going with the 360 blaze, 360 no scope. Blaze it.
Wallio needs a big draw here.
And yeah, he needs like
Fire blast.
yeah, he needs fire blast or
Jokel hops.
yeah, he needs Jokel.
Apocalypse.
Yeah, he needs he needs Aftershock. That would actually be a good card for him to have. Aftershock, red 2 for a sorcery that destroys a creature.
Eating more. Scavenging Ooze up to
Scavenging
an
Ooze
8/8 up to a 9/9.
doing its
this
best.
is becoming a giant, folks.
Its best hungry hippos impersonation right here. And I think that's going to be game.
A 10,
and that's
10
going to be game.
Dan Nguyen takes the game. A match. And now the showdown. Winning with elves. We saw green versus red. Our 2 competitors playing their decks.
Merry Christmas, guys. Merry Christmas. We saw green prevail over red. It was a crazy match.
Dan Nguyen.
My goodness. And Dan looks like he has just walked into the abyss and he has walked out. He's not smiling. He is just focused.
That has grown to a man.
That is a man.
Yeah.
Who has seen things.
He felt like he was on the ropes. He was down. Yeah. He did not look like he was in a good spot. And it looked tough.
Talking about how, like, during the show and tell versus Burn, he was so worried that it was just going to be, like, the shame. Because it's like, Burn's supposed to be by there.
The thing is that it's also, while it's Mike's best deck, the one that he has the most practice with, so clearly he understands that matchup, so you're gonna have to sneak it in. You're gonna have to sneak it. You're gonna have to just get there sometime.
Big
and that was just
time sideboard out of Mike Wallio, like you just saw right there, and Dan Nguyen overcame it all. Mike Wallio, a gamely opponent,
putting Dan against the ropes there. Unbelievable showdown tonight.
Absolutely incredible. And Dan showing that he can go ahead and pilot and just, pilot that sneak and show deck well enough he can get by and get there, and then pull out, when he pulled out the Elven Blade. Oh man.
He knew it was going to be his anchor deck.
Yeah. And he had the tech too. I think what we need to do now, guys, is we need to have a few chats with our competitors.
Let's bring it back to the booth right here, folks. Michael Tessier, Jordan Isaka, we got Jeremy Edwards in the back there, and Miles Wallio. Big thanks to both Mike and Miles Wallio for letting us use their Wallio Stadium. All of the setup you see here, the whole stream setup, all the cameras, that was all created by the Wallio brothers. They also made it an incredible hand piece of software.
Oh, yeah. It's really great. We've got a piece of software that allows us to update the hands and have kind of a communication with our spotters that are down on the arena. It's a lot of fun for us.
Yeah.
And a lot of fun. We hope it's a lot of fun for you guys that are getting to tune in and watch.
Awesome. Awesome night of Legacy action. Thanks so much for tuning. We're going to bring in our two competitors here and get a little interview. But big thanks also, not just to these two guys, but Brian Bennett and Josh Monks as well. Two folks that made tonight possible. And, of course, our competitors, Dan Nguyen and Mike Wallio.
Absolutely.
Here they come. Come on in,
please,
folks.
Come on in, guys.
Wow. Congratulations to Dan.
Wow.
Congratulations,
Congrats
Mike.
to Dan.
Good night of Legacy, folks. Let's see. You want to do...
Should I interview Dan?
Yeah.
All right, and I'll use
it. I'm jumping in. Who's jumping in?
Absolutely, Dan.
Okay.
Oh, actually, should we do? We want to do Mike first? Oh, you interview Dan.
Oh, you interview.
Oh, yeah. Mike, why don't you? We'll do.
Okay,
yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Dude. Mike, what's up, man? A tough one. You had your deck versus his deck in the end. It was. I mean, like
it was the way we wanted it to. I felt that's how I wanted it to start, not the end.
I see. But it was just one of those things where you had. You were close. I thought you won game. You won game 1 of match 4, Burn versus Sneak and Show, and
right,
then he just kind of he got you with the turn 1 G brand. Right, and I was like, "Oh man, like it's gonna be tough." And then game 3 rolls around, and when you ran that surgical, we were like, "Oh yeah, that surgical. Oh, he's got the intuition in hand. It's like there's only one intuition, I think, in that deck, right? Yeah. So it's like, well, does he hold it to try to make it more impactful? But you burned it at arguably the right time.
Because he
arguably
was like,
at the right time.
He's like, that was really good. And I look at his hand, I was like, he has intuition. I was like, how in the world was that good? And then I flip over the top card, and it's Show and Tell, and I was like, intuition didn't matter, but now it does.
Yeah. So that was actually an insane match, and of course, in the final one when you had Burn versus Elves, how tough was that? I mean,
so game 1 I went way too greedy.
Off the Fire Blast.
The Fire Blast. I don't think it would have changed too much because his draw was pretty good. His draw was pretty good. He ended up having a glimpse. I don't think he was going to glimpse. I don't think he had it that turn.
Yeah, he didn't glimpse he glimpsed and he made 5 guys.
Yeah.
And I think he hit a roadblock. So it actually did help. I think it helped on some of the mana production, but I'm not exactly sure how much or how many plays it potentially cut.
I drew into 2 Eidolons and a Searing Blaze where I was like, I wish I had those lands.
Yeah, if the Fire Blast came rolling back, that was kind of one of the things that we were interested in talking about and understanding. But on top of that, walk me through a little bit about like what you expected from Dan. We didn't really do an intermission, so yeah. Were you expecting a Black Red and a Sneak and Show?
So I actually was joking with my brother because I was like, I'm planning on playing Burn because that's my deck.
Yeah.
Right? If you look at the decks I play, it's the only one that's foiled out, and then
Oh yeah. Got with the foil deck. Yeah.
The only one that ever will be. But
yeah.
I was like, watch he just hunts that deck down. I was like, because all you do is you're like, I'm gonna play Show and Tell Reanimator and like another Degenerate combo deck, and like he can't beat those with Burn.
Yeah.
Right. And then he came with Reanimator.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I knew that he could do this.
But you weren't quite sure if he would.
I wasn't quite sure if he would.
And it's one of those things, one of those axes that you're thinking on where your opponent, where Dan can also be running a bug deck, which he was running previously towards playing.
So I was expecting the Elves, his mid-range bug with the Pernicious Steed and Death Rates. because he had the bug control that he was playing, and then, I didn't know what to expect for the third, and then he shows up with
Elves, Reanimator, and Show and Tell. Well, anyways, man, it was a good match. It was a lot of fun to watch. I'm glad that it went the distance, and it looked like you almost got there a couple of times, but alas, it wasn't meant to be. We're gonna go ahead and grab Mike and Dan and Mike Tessier to go ahead and do another interview. We'll be right back, guys. Jeremy Edwards, what's up? All right. Mike and Dan.
All right. Folks, we are bringing in the champ himself. Dan. Dan always wins.
Hey,
Welcome.
Thanks for taking care of the commentary and doing all that stuff, man. It was fun.
Dan, congratulations on your win.
Thank you. It was nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So I said before that I picked these decks because I didn't study much, and I was just going to show up and play easy mode decks. Because, I mean, maybe if I was a little younger and had more free time, I would have, like, actually practiced online and did stuff. But I was so distracted with other things. I just got a new job. I don't know if I put that on. Anyway, I've been grinding on life stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I just had a buddy build these, what people would call relatively linear decks. Right? I know how Reanimator works. I know how Show and Tell works. So I just picked those. I got really nerve-wracking on that last Show and Tell game. I didn't want to lose the whole shebang-a-bang without having been able to play my best deck.
Your green deck.
That was going to be so frustrating. And I forgot how hard cantrips are. I pretty much did every single cantrip wrong. I don't know if anyone noticed that, but after I resolved the cantrip, I was like, oh, damn it. This hand is not how it should look.
That's awesome.
So I would put weird things on top, and so I definitely punted a few. I don't know if you caught that, but yeah, cantrips are not that fun.
Yeah, and Black Red Reanimator, you had a few decisions that were a little harder than you expected too, I think.
Right. Yeah, that deck I actually enjoyed a lot more than a Show and Tell, just because I don't have to. I don't know, it just seemed easier.
Yeah.
And you played Tin Fins in the past.
And I played Tin Fins, and that was fun. Anyway, yeah, that was stressful. I'm glad it went to the last match.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it was those two decks. It
lot
just
of fun.
seems appropriate and poetic, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whoa.
Sorry,
it was poetic. And this is your first. This is your first showdown of this type, right? Or have you done others in the past? Okay.
I mean, nothing as with as much attention on it. So, yeah. Hopefully, we can do more.
Really cool. Yeah.
I think there's plans to do this monthly. With different Seattle area
different
wizards
battlers. Yeah.
Battling for blood and glory.
Yeah. And tell me about. Okay, so now that this experience is over.
Yeah.
What would you do differently next time, or what kind of advice would you give to people taking on a showdown in the future?
All right, step one, there's a lot of lights in that room, and so I would wear less stuff. I wore all this ornamental gear, and I was sweating the whole time. So don't wear a costume.
Okay, got it.
When you play.
Yeah.
And then
You had a cool looking costume.
thanks. I thought so,
Yeah,
but I was getting sweaty. And then the next thing I would suggest is play decks you actually want to play, rather than decks that you think you can like. Angle shoot or metagame. I mean, you could do the metagame thing. It turned out okay in this instance, but I didn't enjoy either of those two combo decks. I was just playing them. I mean, I won the matches. The black-red one was kind of fun, but I originally wanted to play Steel Stompy, Elves, and then probably Grixis Delver just because it's 50-50 deck of the format.
Yeah.
But I would recommend playing fun decks that you actually want to sit back and battle with, because at that last Show and Tell match where I was like losing with the deck I don't enjoy playing, I actually don't enjoy Show and Tell when I'm playing against it, and playing with it I enjoy it even less.
Wow,
so
that's saying something for you.
That deck is just not fun. So I just if you're gonna play a deck in a high profile environment and do all the borrows and all this stuff around it, play decks that you think would be fun.
Okay.
Or you can just try and angle shoot with laser metagame decks. But that would be my suggestion. So when you're stressed out and you're like, oh my god, am I going to make this top deck? Like, at least it's a deck that you enjoy the operations of.
Right, sure.
Yeah,
okay.
Stuff like that.
Cool. Okay. One thing, being the champ of this showdown will also bring you much cred, even more cred already than being the Emperor of Llanowar.
Okay.
Going into the Grand Prix, there are folks at home that are watching. Certainly people that are getting their decks ready for the Grand Prix. That's GP Seattle in April. And there are also people at home that are just getting into Legacy and are eager to see more of it.
Sure.
Advice for folks at home with the Legacy format right now.
With the Legacy format? You mean as far as getting into the format?
Right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is more like a financial question as far in that regard?
It could be. Or
Okay.
a philosophical question.
Philosophical. Let's go. Let's hit both angles. So financially, ask for borrows. I borrowed the 2 non-elf decks I played tonight. I can't buy all this stuff. I'm just a person. So unless you're balling out of control, borrow, make some friends, proxy. I'm sure we could have had proxies and no one would have batted an eye at it. Or there's plenty of borrows in the area. So if you can borrow. There's no shame in that.
Nice.
Monks does it all the time. I do it all the time. So no problem with that.
Yeah.
And then philosophically, I'm a big proponent of playing a deck you enjoy playing and mastering that one thing. Of course, this challenge is actually quite difficult. It's hard to play more than one deck to any degree of
proficiency.
Yeah. And if you can, God bless you. But that definitely takes a lot of time and dedication, especially when you're changing gears, different kinds of decks, combo control, that kind of thing. So find what you like. There's a million ways to play Legacy. And the gap between Tier 1 and Tier 1.5 and even Tier 2 is not so drastic that you shouldn't play what you want to play. Because you're going to be throwing money at it and being in high sweat situations, facing down powerful wizards who want to kill you.
Yeah.
And you have to trust your weapon. You got to trust your weapon and love your weapon.
That is
and
true.
enjoy shooting that weapon.
True. Will you be playing elves at GP
I will be.
Okay.
I actually made some changes today to metagame against
right, Elder Scale Worm, for example.
Elder Scale Worm, and then going 2 Nisses, dropping the 2 Nisses and dropping in just go 4 natural orders, just to get them as soon as as hard as I could.
Nice.
Didn't become relevant, but that was the game plan.
Okay.
So even maybe metagame your deck in that regard if you want to angle shoot, but I wouldn't pick decks you don't enjoy playing. Anyway,
cool.
Yeah, I'll probably be on elves, and
Nice.
It'll be a lot of fun. Hope to see some of these nerds and wizards out there fighting.
Awesome. Well, Dan, congratulations again
Thank
on
you
your
so
big
much
Showdown win.
For doing commentary and helping out. It was a lot of fun.
All right, folks at home, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been yet another Seattle Showdown, live Legacy action. Dan Nguyen, our champion tonight.
Champ.
Let's hear it for him. Thank you again for
Champ
tuning
face.
in. Make sure you hit that follow button so you can check out all of our Showdowns coming up. We'll have plenty more to go. Big thanks to everyone who participated tonight, and especially congrats one more time.
I'll take it.
For the champ. All right.
Bam.
See you guys. Thanks for joining us, and bye for now.
That was a lot of fun.